1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, hello. Let's see if this works. This is a different setup today. Ooh. Yeah, different kind of... Oh, wait, where'd the music go? Oh, it's still there, it's still there. Oh, it was because I've got it doubled. Oh, no, oh, no. Wait, okay, hang on, there we go. Okay, sorry. I had the stream audio on and the actual audio on, so I had it doubled. Yeah, this is a different kind of stream. And so I have my mic in a different place. Hopefully it's gonna be quite chill today. I don't really know how this is gonna go. Yeah, so today we're doing director's commentary, which is something I'm kind of excited and nervous for. I don't know. We are gonna have to spend a few minutes experimenting with the setup though. So let me go ahead and swap to the overlay for this. Oh, the chat's not refreshed from the last one. Ooh, let's go and fix that real quick. Okay, there is going to be a bit of let's refresh that real quick. Wait, reset session. Yes, please. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. No, no. Why is it not there? Yeah, it's going to be a Yap stream. It really is. Why is that the old chat? There is more to come on this overlay, by the way. I'm just doing it in stages because I have some surprises for you all. Okay. Why is that the old chat? Why is that the old chat? Can it not be the old chat, please? That's the chat from Saturday, which is great. I'm so happy for it, but why is that there? Why is that there? Oh, okay. Good. Okay, we fixed the chat. Good. That's step one. I could even put this chat over here. I might be able to see you guys a bit better today. Okay. Right. Step number 2. Okay. So, step 2 is we're going to see whether the YouTube view works. So, I have here the video. Okay, we've got the video. Now, let's just give this a moment.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has become one of my personal favorite games of all time.
Okay, we have video. We have video. That's good. This is me reacting to my own video, which is great content, isn't it? Okay, so we have that. Did that come out all right? Did you hear the video?
Not just for things like its story and cast of characters, but really for all of the little touches.
And what's the kind of balance like between the two of us? I feel like this might need to come down a bit. I'm going to bring the video down a couple of decibels. Okay. That's that portion. So we'll come back. Okay, I need to sort out my windows here, chat. Hello. I didn't say hello. I didn't say hello to Chris and to Victini and to Brighton. I'm so sorry that I didn't call you all by name. It's louder than you. Yeah, I thought it was. That's okay. Okay, well, I've turned it down a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that. But my objective is not really to talk over it. My objective is to kind of pause it and talk in between. Now, one of the things you might ask is, how on earth are you going to know whether I'm talking or whether the video's talking? And so I'm gonna do something a little brave here. I'm gonna show you all who I am. I'm gonna put a little camera in the corner. You ready for this? Boom, that's me. There you go. That is look at that. That is exactly who I am. Isn't that right? That's exactly who I look, you know, me with the big red cross on my chest with the luscious black locks. All right? That's obviously me. You all know this already. So I'm going to put that there. Now, obviously, that's a bit useless, isn't it? Because it's a still image. Yeah, look at that. Now, this is the part that doesn't seem to work any... I am so handsome, absolutely. Now, this is the part that doesn't work. This is meant to be some audio levels. Can we fix this, please? Can we fix this? Can we fix this? So, I mean, okay. The intention here is to have a little audio level next to me, right? You can see that. And that's just from my OBS window. But the problem is it's frozen, which is completely useless. It's completely useless, isn't it? I have 2 swords stabbing into my shoulders. It's quite painful, actually. Why doesn't this work? And what I might do is try and make a new one. Okay. So this might be a couple of minutes. This might be some testing problems. Screen capture. Let's now hold on a moment. I really want to get rid of that, please, because I don't want to show off my entire screen. I've got to be very, very careful about this. I would like to capture this. Yup. Okay. That's that. Good. Now, this I want to. I'm being okay. You guys can't understand what I'm doing here, but I'm trying to crop my screen capture, but whilst it's invisible, so that I don't show you everything on my screen. And I think the way to do that is going to be to do it like this. And let's see what we find here. Okay, are we ready for this? There it is. Okay, that looks pretty awful, but we're getting there, one moment at a time. Here we go. There we are. Isn't that beautiful? That's exactly what we were looking for. Just bring that up there, and then look at that. There we go. I'm so awesome. Okay. So now we have the microphone here, and the purpose of this is so that you know when I'm talking. So, look guys, this is the best I can do without a face cam, okay? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this layout's kind of awkward, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah. So hopefully that helps you, that now if I start playing... Now, where's my video window gone? I need the... Hold on. Here we go. Okay. So the problem with this is I'm actually looking at the video in a different window.
But make a world so much more immersive. The scenery, the music,
and let's just pretend for a minute that I start talking over the video.
But also the combat.
You can now see that I'm talking, and then I can pause it, and I can talk like that. Does that work? Is that going to work? Is that going to work? It's better than nothing. Yeah, better than nothing, our overlay. I like it though, actually. I think it's all right. Okay. Does that all work? Okay, we'll see where we get to. So yeah, as I said, my intention is not to talk over the video, because obviously that will get kind of noisy. My intention is just to kind of watch a bit and then kind of pause and then just kind of see what happens. I could even turn down the video on here if it gets a bit noisy. Yeah, okay. Okay, here we go. Reacting to / discussing I turned Xenoblade 3 into a brutal Nuzlocke uploaded by this very, very handsome man 3 years ago. I think the initial context I will give you is I came up with this idea in my first playthrough of the game, which was, like the summer of 2022. And then I didn't work on it for a while until December, I think. Yeah, it was like just before Christmas, I did the first gameplay recording, and then I did the first like 10 minutes of the video right at the kind of around the new year. So yeah, this is 3.5 years ago, this first bit you're seeing. Let's get into it. Keep telling me what the audio balance is like. If one thing's too loud or problematic, just let me know and we'll keep going, and hopefully this is interesting. Here we go. I can't wait. I'm excited but scared. And I'm just procrastinating, but we gotta move forward. We gotta get out the endless now. Here we go.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has become one of my personal favourite games of all time.
That it has.
Not just for things like its story and cast of characters, but really for all of the little touches that make a world so much...
It's actually quite interesting to hear my voice being a bit different. Like, I mean, hopefully the mic setup works. I mean, it would be really embarrassing if this audio is coming through to you really poorly, but... Yeah, I don't think the audio in this is bad, but it is nice to see how it's improved, even for the most recent couple of videos.
More immersive. The scenery, the music, side questing, but also the combat. It wasn't that far into my first playthrough that I came up with this idea I'm about to show you, where we can take this game's already diverse combat system, to something even more incredible that doesn't just take combat, but will involve nearly every aspect of this game. To begin with,
I quite like the intro, to be honest. I think the intro still holds up, and I think I did a really good job, actually. Hey, Obama medal around my neck. I know, we're going to do that a lot this video, but I actually thought the intro still really holds up. I didn't like my own video. No, for the record, this is just, this is a separate window. Actually, this window's running through OBS, basically. So, I actually have liked my own video. Yeah. Which I don't know if that's better or worse. Is it better to like my own videos? I don't know. But I did like this one because this is important to me. This was the first type of video like this I made. So it's quite special to me. Yeah. And as I mentioned yesterday, that point about mentioning every aspect of this game, we're kind of getting there. We're finally getting there with all the heroes and whatnot. So that was my plan the whole time, is this was going to be... I think it was Isaac on the future video who commented something like, it feels more like a Let's Play than a Nuzlocke. And that's not a bad thing. But actually, that's probably the word that I've been searching for to describe how this kind of run looks. It is a Nuzlocke, but it's kind of more than that.
A very diverse combat system to something even more incredible that doesn't just take combat, but will involve nearly every aspect of this game. To begin with, we need to create some rules. The premise of this run is based around the class system. In Xenoblade Chronicles 3, each of the party members that can join your group come with a different style of combat known as a class. And my overall idea for this run is that anytime a party member is reduced to 0 HP, they lose access to whatever class they are currently using. So if Noah here goes down while using his Sword Fighter class, he can no longer use the Sword Fighter class.
This is kind of where some of the graphics originate. I had the idea of using the chibi images for the... No, I didn't have the idea. They're in the game. What a stupid sentence that was. But I really liked separating the kind of circle portrait at the top as being like representing the party members, and the chibi images representing the classes. I quite liked that. But this is an old version where there's still white background behind Noah, which is awkward. Yeah, there's going to be some things like that which will improve. Thank you all for liking the videos. It's great to hear that you do.
For the entire game. If one of our party members runs out of classes to use, then the run is over.
I think I took this little clip here from my own Let's Play, because obviously we hadn't unlocked Flash Fencer by the time I made this video. Imagine Nintendo adds a Nuzlocke mode. That would be crazy. That would be crazy. And then whose rule set do they do it based on? Do I get a cameo in the game? That was that's kind of one of the reasons this video took off, I think, is lots of people have explored like Xenoblade 2's combat and done Nuzlockes and other things, but I don't think anyone, and even now, I don't think anyone else has really done a YouTube series of a challenge run in Xenoblade 3. Not much. Of course, bear in mind this video came out in like this game came out just under a year after the game's release, so it was still quite relevant. I was quite lucky, really, that no one else had kind of taken that niche before I did. And anyone else still can if they want to, because at the end of the day, I'm the new hero. Yeah, that would be very interesting. I'd probably spit water out everywhere. I can't remember what I said. I'm going to be on so many different thought trains, and I hope that's bearable with you all. Yeah. Okay. We've only got a minute in,
so if this ends up being way too difficult,
going.
Then we'll figure it out later, as I still really want to make a video out of this for content in some way.
That there, I think, is my first meme. I think that's my first meme edit in the video. And that kind of, that 10 seconds kind of summarizes where my feelings were and where they've kind of, they were bumpy along the way, but they've gotten to where they are now, which is, at the end of the day, I don't care how hard the Nuzlocke is. As long as it's kind of balanced, my objective is to make good videos and good streams. My objective is to be funny and to enjoy myself, and hopefully for chat to enjoy yourselves too. That was the most important thing to me, not the difficulty. Which made me worry about, like, whether some people would just, like, not be interested because it was too easy or something. I don't know. Or, like, later on, if we change the rules, whether that could still happen. But the content was most important for me. Content. His special art is dropping the control. All right. I'm not
Now,
acknowledging
there are
that.
a number of other little rules and clarifications that I will need to explain for this run,
Boy,
but
weren't
since
there.
some of these rules get a bit too detailed for a nice introductory segment, I've actually decided that it would be better to explain some of the rules as and when the game's features are introduced. I'm sorry that this will...
Oh, this is old text. I knew this was here. But this is old text, by which I mean it doesn't have like a stroke or a border around it. That was a trick I learned during the second video, which is just, it makes such a difference to make it easier to view. I've just realized you probably can't see my mouse moving around at all. Oh well, it doesn't. It just means you can't know whether I'm pointing to different parts of the video. Hopefully you can understand that I'm talking about text, which is in the corner of the screen. The controller count is at 3. Don't worry, there are no controller counts today, unless I can somehow drop my mouse, which is plugged into the computer. That doesn't count. Yeah, this is old text. And I think this was the right decision. I think this is another reason this video ended up being good, because I ended up procrastinating all of the rules until another video. And as explained, as was clear later, there were a lot of rules to explain, and so I think this was a good idea.
Bother some people, as it probably would for me too, but please just trust...
You might not be able to tell, but why does it go... Okay, that's something to realize, is every time I press the left or right arrows, it goes 10 seconds, not 5. Oh well. You might not have heard that. That's the first audio like insertion into the video. The second half of this sentence is actually a different recording.
Some of the rules as and when the game's features are introduced. I'm sorry that this will bother some people, as it probably would for me too, but
that probably would for me too is a different recording. And those two voice clips are about 5 months apart. Just a fun fact. That was one of my last edits of the video, I think. Just one of my final kind of reviews where I was recording anything that went wrong the first time I recorded it. Which actually happens like over a long type of period. I didn't record the video in one go. That's a question I'd love to ask some other creators one day. When you have a long scripted video like this, do you record the whole video in one go, or do you script it and do it piece by piece? Because that's what ended happening with this video. I'll get into there when we get there. We've been here 20 minutes and I've done 2 minutes, so I'm just going to play the video for a while.
Please just trust me that I'm not avoiding any rules. I'm simply trying to not complicate things. Consider it like how a number of games give you tutorials gradually through the game, rather than all at once.
I liked that comparison.
There is one clarification I can make though, which is that I'm going to play this run on hard difficulty.
Yeah, that didn't end up happening, did it? Oh, we're not on hard anymore. What a decision that was. I really underestimated how much difference there would be on hard mode, actually. You didn't notice the audio? Good, that's fine. I'm going to point it out a few times in the video. One of the things that's really strange about my voice is there are some times where I can make an insertion like that work and you will not notice anything. And there are other times where I will record it in one take and it sounds like it's been spliced. Spliced is the best. Whenever I've said insertion, I mean splice. I'm going to stop talking.
Having only played on normal, this adds more challenge.
Yeah, that
we don't unlock the class system for a few hours in the game, so we don't need any more specific rules until we get there. What we do have to bear in mind, however, is that at the start, everyone is still technically using a class, and we don't have any alternate classes to switch to if we lose one. This means that if anyone dies, the run ends immediately.
Well, a few people commented, just a few, that Pokeballs might have changed this. But you know, I think this was a good thing, because if I hadn't made that little clarification that we're still playing on Nuzlocke even before we unlock the classes, most of the content in this video doesn't happen, right? And this is why I love it so much. You know, was it a mistake to not do it the Pokeballs way? Maybe. But did it create a lot of laughs? Certainly. I mean, if I don't say that, then Herbert doesn't happen. And the valid tactics doesn't happen. But it was crazy to me the number of people who commented saying, hey, you could do this differently, you know. And I had no idea. Well, one of the comments to make is, okay, this is going to sound strange, right? But I didn't realize that the word Nuzlocke was so Pokemon-centric. I knew that Nuzlocke originated from Pokemon, right? I knew that. But I'd also seen other people do Nuzlocke of other games. And so I thought that in the world of 2023, we'd evolved past the idea that Nuzlocke was specifically to do with Pokemon. I thought it was just more generic. And so I thought people would come into this video thinking, oh, it's a Xenoblade 3 challenge run, and not really apply the Pokemon logic to it. But maybe that was a misunderstanding from me. So that was interesting. This stream's going to be so long, isn't it? I'm scared.
So allow me to present to you the simplest and yet most intense start to any challenge run you have ever seen.
Music coming in.
Let us begin the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Nuzlocke.
Honestly, I still love the intro. I like that musical intro, and you might have noticed in the second video, my intention throughout the run is kind of to upgrade that intro with every video and kind of include a bit more of the story. I don't know, just evolve it over time. I wasn't expecting it would take me 3 years to make the second part, but there we are. I'm still happy with it. And honestly, even now, as I sit here 3 years later, that 3-minute kind of intro to the video, I think even by modern standards, that was good. I think it explains what it needs to, but not in a rambly way. And I think it just draws you in, and then you have this musical bit is kind of meant to be the actual intro to the video. I didn't put any chapters on the video, and I chose to leave it that way. But I actually think this first 3 minutes was pretty solid. I mean, minus the audio quality being improved later. I actually think that intro was really solid, and that's something I didn't land in the second video, as we'll see when we get there. Cool. I'm happy so far. Let's continue.
We begin in a serene town square. The birds are singing, the children are playing, the world is ended. Wait.
I like
Some wacky interdimensional space things happen, and we are suddenly transported to the world of Ionios. We then see a great battlefield and are introduced to the two main opposing forces. Xenoblade 1 fans and Xenoblade 2 fans. Armies of Twitter and Reddit users ravenously devour their prey, only to find...
Ooh, I tell you what I'll do. I'll enable some subtitles, just to help you all out, I think. Because this segment is one I have, like, mixed feelings about. I'll play it through first.
Opposing forces. Xenoblade 1 fans and Xenoblade 2 fans. Armies of Twitter and Reddit users ravenously devour their prey, only to find a new opponent standing before them, all in the name of serving their nation's queen. I wrote that line as a joke, but some people actually do this. Why?
Okay. The Xenoblade 1 versus 2 fans joke, I thought that was funny. I thought that was a good way of drawing people in. And I actually liked the kind of going onto the Twitter and Reddit users. I think I struggled to find the wording at first, but I actually still find that not laugh out loud funny, but kind of amusing. My only kind of uncertainty, which I talked about in one of the small videos, which we'll watch through another time, is that I didn't really explain any of the kind of story behind the game. And I absolutely love the opening scene into this game. I think it is one of the best prologues. I think it just sets the tone so perfectly, and Noah's narration with the prologue music being so good. And so I was kind of disappointed that later on, when I actually go and start to want to explore the characters, I think this is the one thing that's not present in like this first kind of 10 minutes of the video, is that desire to explore the story and to explore and actually share my feelings on the game. It was just trying to be funny, and I never went back and rectified that. And I don't know how that's kind of given off a different impression over the time. You were laughing at that joke? Thank you. That's good to hear. One of the... Okay, this is going to sound really, like, arrogant, and I don't want it to be, but the only thing that I didn't really know from a lot of the comments on the video is whether it was like, not whether, but what was particularly funny. Like, you know, you get a lot of comments on YouTube videos just kind of restating a joke with like a skull emoji or a laughing emoji. And some of those are very lazy comments, right? You know, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. The only thing I felt like I was missing from the response on this video, which I don't want to sound like was bad, because it wasn't. I really, really appreciate that. And I was so overwhelmed when it blew up a few months later with all those comments and views. But yeah, I just didn't know how some of the jokes landed for different people. There weren't kind of a lot of those specific comments. And that's not to say I didn't think it worked. I just didn't know. I just kind of didn't have that feedback. And that's kind of one of the reasons I want to make this argument, to make this stream. Yeah. Which one's Twitter and which one's Reddit? That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like Twitter's more likely to hate on, quote, anime garbage, so maybe Twitter is 1 and Reddit is 2. But maybe it's the opposite as well, because you also have a lot of it's neither and it's both, man. I mean it wasn't actually meant to be that one side is 1. It was just meant to be that everyone is hating each other. And actually, maybe that's something I'll come back to. Maybe I'll bring that joke back, because I do want to talk about like the polarization of the world in this game later on. Spoilers, by the way. Maybe I'll bring this joke back. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, this stream's going to be so long if I don't keep playing.
We then see our initial starting group and are thrust into the midst of battle. Now, a moment ago, I told you this was going to be an intense start to the run. Please recall that we currently can't change classes in any way,
for the first time.
Which means that if any one of our party members goes down, we instantly lose. But this is the tutorial. What's the worst that can happen? We'll get through easily. But as I began to see our health bars slowly tick down, I realized that I had no control whatsoever on healing. Yuli is our only healer, and we don't have any master arts right now, so our run rests entirely.
No arts? This was a bigger meme at the time, which is why I include it.
Yuli is our only healer, and we don't have any master arts right now, so
no arts. It's there for a split second. Can I do frame by frame on this? I can. No arts? No arts? I still found this funny. I'm sorry. It's stupid, but that's who I am.
So our run rests entirely on her. But what's more, we can't switch over to her. So not only does our run rest solely on Uni, it rests solely on Uni's AI. Now,
and then it says Uni's the boss at the bottom, but you can't see because
and you like this series of games, then I'm sure you can agree. Let's just say these games are not praised for the quality of their AI. And what's worse, since we can only use features that have been introduced to us, there is nothing else I can do in this first battle but sit and watch as we auto-attack and hope that Uni heals us.
You can kind of see the vibe I was on this first couple of minutes. It's like putting text on the screen to make jokes on top of the script that I'm already speaking. And that's kind of good and bad, because it does distract people from the script. But I liked a lot of those on there.
But this is the tutorial, it's fine, right? Well, that's what I thought, but that started to change when I saw that there was a distinct gap in Lance's HP.
A distinct gap. How British am I? I wanted that to be specifically kind of British, I think. This was scary, by the way, this first fight. I can vaguely remember just thinking, wait, this is actually going wrong. What am I supposed to do? Now, obviously, looking back on it, there's no way you can lose this fight unless... Oh, here was the question I was going to ask. Can you actually sheath your blade in these fights? Like, does anyone want to just whip up the game right now and whip out the tutorial and just see whether you can sheath your blade and what happens if you lose? Because surely they've balanced these fights well enough that you can't? But I don't know. I'm just interested to know what happens if you lose. Where do you go? You don't have any skip travel points. How does it... This is not relevant. Keep playing.
And then his health bar turned orange, and it kept going down. There was no sign of stopping. Would the run end here? We did win this fight, but Lance survived with only a third of his full HP. which, for the first fight of the game, made me reconsider a few things.
I am still happy with kind of the... You can hear that although the audio quality is a bit kind of subpar to where maybe it should be, you can still kind of hear my tone changing a bit. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't have 3? I'm so sorry for you. Sorry, I don't have anything to say to that. Just, damn, I'm so sorry. 3's good. 3's my favorite. But we'll come on to that later in the videos. This is the first video, and we've gotten 5 minutes in half an hour, so I should probably just let it play.
I literally didn't move for a few seconds to ensure Lance would have full HP for the next fight.
I'll monitor that.
Out of curiosity, I then tried to go away from the objective to see what happened, and to absolutely no one's surprise, you can't. Just in case you wanted to know.
I don't know if that was worth putting in the video, to be honest. I don't know, like, how funny it was. But there you are. If you wanted to know, you can't leave. Shocker.
Next fight in this tutorial...
No, don't worry. No one needs to actually fire up the tutorial. It doesn't matter.
Initially looks easier as you face the same enemies, but there's only 2 instead of 3. The catch is that afterwards 3 more enemies appear, and because this is the same fight, there's no time in between to auto-heal. Fortunately, the first 2 enemies give us a level up, as well as suddenly learning how to use arts. As long as we use the arts correctly, this should allow us to do damage a bit faster. Of particular note in Noah's arts is Ground Beat, which is an AoE attack. Upon using this, we hit all the enemies, and so the enemies that we're not targeting begin to aggro Noah, since he's done the most damage to them. And normally, this is kinda bad because we don't want our attackers to have aggro, but in this case,
this is the first kind of rambly bit of the video that maybe could have been shortened
to
a bit.
The entire run. Any damage
that
Noah is taking is damage that Lance isn't. That sounds obvious, but the point is that Lance is now slightly less in danger of going down, and that's the whole crux of the game here. It might be better for us to spread out damage across a few party members rather than focus on 1 or 2 specific defenders. But of course, we still have to manage HP on everyone, and defenders do have the most HP. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that aggro management becomes a lot more critical. If we were to purposefully aggro enemies to non-defenders, even just briefly, it could save our defenders from going down, and therefore an entire class. But that's for later. Right now we are ground beating and sword striking and edge thrusting. I'm retracting that one. Thanks to no...
I think that's funny. I think that's still funny. It was a good way to bring people back, I guess, after that kind of slightly rambly segment. That might have gone on a bit too long. There's a lot more of those in the second video. Can you actually die in the tutorial, though? This is the thing. I think you probably can't, because Uni's got all the control over the healing. So I think as long as Uni's AI is programmed to do something quite simple, and bearing in mind there's like no Ouroboros or whatever, so she probably just uses the arts as soon as they're available. They probably did balance it just right, although it does get very close in this last fight. I don't know. It might be possible, but I think it is close. We'll see when we get there.
And Uni taking a little bit of damage, Lance only gets down to half HP in this fight. The third and final battle is genuinely easier, having only 1 enemy than 2.
I still don't know why that happens, by the way. Why is the third of those fights easier? It doesn't make any sense.
After this, we have a cutscene where we stand around and talk and somehow don't die until eventually we keep going to find this thing, the Ulula. Fortunately, we've unlocked talent arts now, and since we're gaming experts, we can perform break, topple, and daze without having seen the tutorial.
Actually, that's very important, actually. I don't know. I don't know if you can. This is the... Okay, let me keep watching.
This fight was pretty straightforward. Lance was losing a little bit of HP, but so was the enemy. But I then realized that the rate of HP loss was pretty much the same for both of them. If the fight continued this way, it was going to be really close as to whether...
So this is my question, right? We're kind of... This fight was a really close call, and that's with using break, topple, daze, which you're not taught about yet. So you're not supposed to use it? And if you don't use Noah's arts, like with all the positioning correctly, then maybe you can lose. Unless maybe Lance has like a hard-coded, or maybe the enemy's coded a certain way. You know what? This is probably quite pointless to talk about. But this is the content you signed up for, I'm afraid. I don't know. It feels like you shouldn't be able to lose it. But honestly, I think there's a realistic possibility that
Lance survived. Now, remember what I said a minute ago about aggro and spreading out damage? Well, Here is where I learned that none of that applies when talking about enemy AoE attacks. When the enemy deals AoE damage, it doesn't...
That's something I didn't realize. The kind of zoom that happened there onto this part of the video was actually done with like a curve effect, which is the default. And it wasn't meant to be. You're going to boot up Xenoblade 3. We're going to do some science today, yeah. Speeding up some fights like this is kind of nice. I think it is, yeah. The one difference, though, in this fight is that we're not swapping characters, and there's a lot less happening on the screen. I think if you did that for some of the boss fights in the game we've been playing so far, I think it might get a bit overwhelming on the eyes. But I should remember that, actually. I think I preferred to just cutting away. But maybe that's not... Maybe you're right. Maybe I should speed up more things.
No matter who they're aggroed to at all, because the damage applies to everyone in a certain radius. So in this case, we want everyone to be spread out on the field. Right here, Uni and Lance both get hit, which literally halved Uni's HP. An auto attack then put Lance into red HP for the first time. Uni healed, but Mouth Laser did another 100 damage. It was down to the wire with Lance surviving on only 49 HP. He could maybe have survived one more auto attack, but that's not accounting for increased damage such as arts or critical hits. We won against Connor.
Actually, you can see the enemy like about to attack him right there, but then the break stuns him. I don't think you might be able to do this.
Sigma became so close to defeat.
And that was my first attempt at like some actual kind of emotional lines.
We won against Colony Sigma, but came so close to defeat.
But looking back, I was really happy that this happened.
This opening segment does an amazing job at giving a simple yet effective overview of what the world of Ionios is like. And in the scene after this fight, I realized that's what had just happened with this run. The idea that we'd come so close to failure in the opening tutorial made me question how much further we'd really get.
I guess actually I did do a little bit of recap of the cutscene. So maybe I didn't... What I said earlier about like not actually explaining the story and the characters, maybe I did do enough of that here. Because you are seeing like all this destruction. Maybe I did do enough of that, more than I realized. I can't remember what else I was going to say. Oh, the music in the background to this scene is the opening to Homecoming, by the way, just to make it even worse for you all.
I realized this challenge would be much more brutal than I ever imagined.
I think the camera here is perfect. I think the way it looks at them, I think this scene actually turned out really good.
This is the first time I've ever attempted something like this, and I actually realized that it helps you to better empathize with all of these characters. Typically, when you lose a fight in a game, it's disappointing, but I just tried again or went to do something else. In this run, even just one party member dying is meaningful. It changes the rest of the whole game. And that's the same as what happens here. These people don't get to just retry the fight. If they die, it's over. In this moment right here, I came up with the idea that anytime we lose a class in this run, we could honor it with the flute melody in the same way as the Offseer's send.
Wait, I haven't done that. I forgot that. Oh no. Okay, so two things. The first thing is the comment about like empathizing with the characters. I think it kind of feels a little over the top, and I did wonder that as I was making the rest of the video. So I remembered that. But I think it's still nice to include. I think the word empathize is a bit strong, but the point is actually there. Like, it helps you immerse into the world more and just kind of, I don't know, feel like you're more of a part of things. That's one of the reasons I like games and RPGs as a storytelling medium. I just feel more immersed and I feel more attached to the things that happen compared to just a film or a TV series. But this thing about honoring the lost classes with the Offseers, I forgot that. Did I really forget that? Or I wonder, did I like remember this at points and then go, I don't know how to do it? Ooh. Is that something we need to do? Okay, I'll need to think about that. That would be meaningful, to have some kind of way of showing the loss. Or maybe we could do it when we lose. Yeah, thank you, Abstract. That is kind of the point of the Nuzlocke, to get attached. I just think that the word was, yeah, as you say, it was slightly over the top and maybe in the way I explained it, but I think the point was there. And I think we'll see that far more with Xenoblade than you would in a Pokemon game. But, well, at the same time, Pokemon are cute, and that's why... Very sad. I would say to only do it once everyone lost the class. That's kind of what I was just about to say before I lost my train of thought. I think that might be the better way of doing it. Because then you've really lost it, right? So unless we were to bring it back with Ascension quests, but we could equally have kind of the inverse with that. We could have some kind of ceremony. Thank you, Cube. And I think the one class... No, we haven't lost a class on everyone yet. We haven't. Okay. So that means we're still okay and I haven't done anything wrong. Oh, I love how my life plays out like that. Give each class a nickname to become inspired to it. Okay, so Tactician is made of paper. That's the only one I thought of. That's the only joke I had, and I was hoping I could find more. Yeah, they probably will get... Okay. Yeah, let's do something for every time we lose the class on everyone. So if we completely lose access to it, let's do something like that. Tactician was the closest, yeah. Tyon still has it, and Noah still has it. Noah's not used it at all, I think. On the flip side, I think Ogre is now the only class that is available on everyone still. Other than like the new hero ones we just unlocked, but haven't actually unlocked on everyone. We're getting sidetracked. Let's watch the video.
And off the Fallen.
I thought this was going to be a short
I don't have a specific
stream.
idea in mind at this point, but I want to commit to doing something.
Well, I clearly forgot that commitment, so I'm sorry. We'll do something from now on for when we lose everyone.
Once the off-seeing is complete, we begin the trek back to our home of Colony 9. It is at this point that I wish to introduce the first clarification of our rule set. And that is, if you try this challenge at home, don't just grind to level 99 in the first area. It removes the challenge, blah blah blah. I'm sure I don't need to explain myself. That said, if you do stay in this one area and actually grind all the way to level 99, I think you deserve a free pass. To a doctor, that is.
I found this funny. I'm sorry. Looking back, did I need to include that whole thing about level 99? No. But it set up this joke. And this is one of the things we will actually talk about when it comes to particularly the second video, is there's a lot of places where I had a section like this where there was like a couple of sentences that are kind of pointless and don't really need to be in the video. But if you cut those two sentences, you have to cut the joke that was set up for them. And I had to really make some decisions, and maybe I made the wrong decisions as well, about whether it's worth keeping that kind of useless two sentences in favor of this joke. I think here it's fine because it's only a couple of sentences. There are places definitely in the second video, both ones I cut and ones that stayed in the video, that were longer than that. And I don't know if that was the right call. Sometimes you've got to cut the jokes in favor of keeping things faster and smoother, I think. But I wasn't really paying attention to that in this video. These are just my reflections later on. One of the things I think was good about this video is I just let it be. I wasn't concerned about like audience engagement or like viewer engagement in any way. I kind of just made what came to mind, and I didn't really change that later. And I think on that front, I'm actually impressed with how, if I can say, I'm impressed with how well it came out. Yes, it was my own video, but I think I can still have a right to be proud of that. Okay.
On our way back through Everblight Plain, I did enough battles to get up to level 4, and also saw this enemy called the Run Ender, which I decided...
I think this joke probably went missed. This level 43 Ropal, this is actually unintentional foreshadowing as well. It's not meant to be, but it's a Ropal, which is the same enemy type as Herbert. You can't see my mouse, I keep forgetting that. But this enemy type is the same as Herbert, and I just said this enemy's called the Run Ender. It's unintentional foreshadowing. It's not meant to be, but it kind of is, if you think about it.
I decided to avoid. Then we had a forced battle which taught us about Uni's healing ring. This is her art, which plants a regenerate ring.
If you don't like the video, who will? I mean, I get it. I do get it. But I don't know. I'm trying not to seem like I'm really arrogant about it because I don't want to come across like that. I'm still really proud of it. I'm proud of a lot of things that happened. It's Herbert's father. Thank you.
Bring on the field. On the one hand, this is great because she won't use this art until we reach this tutorial, so now she has a second healing art to use. On the other hand, it's completely useless because Mr. Meatbrain over here doesn't seem to have enough brain cells to comprehend what a healing ring is.
I think that was simple. That was
Fortunately,
nice.
once we took down one enemy, the fight became much easier.
That was kind of the right
As with
kind of
most
flow.
RPGs, the game takes the first walk home to introduce some key gaming concepts.
Gaming concepts was meant to be like a joke I was building up gradually. Hang on a moment. I might need to just go and do something. Okay, sorry, chat. I'm coming back. I had to do something. I'm sorry. Okay. Where were we? I don't know. Gaming concepts. Gaming concepts was going to be one of those phrases that I was going to like have as a running joke in some of the videos. So like content was at the start. The content and gaming concepts were going to be words I was going to reuse, and I kind of just never did. I don't think they came across that amusingly. I think they could be made into something like that, but yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that was. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by comments. Something drained his color. That's just because I muted it. Yeah, that's okay. Where's my other tab? I've lost my tab. There it is. Okay. Gaming concepts.
And here we are introduced to two more. The first is containers, which for gameplay purposes function as treasure chests. Now, just to consider the plot explanation, these are supplies that were either forgotten or abandoned by some other soldiers. This one makes sense, as we just finished a battle and it's on the way back to the colony. But some of these containers are in the strangest of places, and I just have to ask, who put these here in the first place? To demonstrate just how silly all these soldiers are for leaving containers everywhere, we are going to begin keeping a container counter, and when we finish the run, we'll blame all of them on the person I deem to be the worst NPC. So here,
I don't know how funny this was. I did actually think at one point recently whether to ask people if the container counter is worth keeping, because there were some points in the second video where I had to like just insert a piece of footage. There's a container here, there's a container there. That just kind of felt out of place. I think the husk counter that we're about to see next, I think is worth keeping. I think that adds some emotional value. I just don't know whether the container counter is actually that interesting. I think the joke is kind of funny to say, why are all these containers in these strange places? I mean, we got that one in the Aegis Wilderness that's like on top of the Great Hand wall. It's just in the middle of nowhere. Why is it there? And I'd love to blame it on the worst NPC. Chat behave. Oh, I can blame it on chat. Oh, you're so right. Oh, you've brought the joke back. Thank you so much. But no, a question I kind of have to realize is, are we really going to know who the worst NPC is? I guess we could blame it on the worst hero or something, or I could blame it on chat. That's a good idea. Thank you, Victini. You're spared for suggesting the idea. It is historical. Like, it's not disinteresting, and I don't mind doing it. I just kind of think, is it worth it? Does it actually add value? I can keep it in. I'm not offended by it. I don't mind doing it. I just don't know whether I'm going to actually make the joke land at the very end of the series. I guess it's a problem for future me. Anyway, this is a ramble. It doesn't really matter.
Here's container number 1. This gives us our first accessory, and it's actually pretty nice, boosting our auto attack by 58%.
Kind of funny that it gives you that one item and nothing else.
The second feature we're introduced to here is one I really can't joke about. Around the world, we can find the remaining husks of dead soldiers that haven't been sent off. This feature is just so haunting, and is another way in which this opening section allows you to experience the reality of the world.
Yeah, I guess I did do more explaining of the story than I thought I did. This feature, by the way, is kind of crazy, actually. This is a really good decision they made to add this feature. Don't let this be something else you don't commit to. Oh no. But it is an interesting point to bring up, right? That I kind of committed to a bunch of things in this first video. I was kind of thinking, oh, this is how the series will go. We'll do this and we'll do this. And not necessarily thinking about the reality of it. Now, obviously, we've had two kind of small examples and they're fine. But that might be one thing to talk about as we go through this video. Probably towards the end, there's probably going to be a couple more comments in that. Just having it in the background doesn't hurt. No, it doesn't. And so I think we probably will keep it. I just, you know, it's going to kind of be there. And I don't think that everything has to add value. You know, there's a theory like in drama, in theatre, where there's no point having props on the stage if they don't do anything. And I personally hate it. I think that's wrong. I think you can have things there just to add a bit of space and a bit of breathing room. I think that's okay. So I don't have a problem with it being in the video. I guess, actually, in true honesty, I just wanted to see some feelings on it. Like, what does it do? And if we can find someone to blame it on, I think that's funny. Maybe it'll be Valdi so far. Yeah, you could skip over some exploration saying you picked up some containers and husks. Yeah, that's kind of what my intention was. I guess my only fear was if I said, oh, we found some containers, then we found some more containers, then we did a battle, and then we found some more containers. Albeit if I do that fast-paced like that, it could be funny. I overthink a lot of decisions, chat. Did you know this? I overthink a lot of things. If you didn't know, this stream's going to be so long, isn't it? Okay, I'm gonna try and keep going.
To show just how brutal this is, I'm also going to be keeping a counter of how many husks we see off in our playthrough. This won't It's not possible to sheath now for the death test. Okay. Can you just, like, not try in any of the fights? Can you just try and be as bad as possible and just see what happens? Thank you so much. Maybe just call out the super out there containers. I probably should do that. I probably should. And yeah, Valdi at the moment would be the sort of person to leave them, wouldn't he? Include any husks from cutscenes in the main story, like the earlier scene. This is instead only counting husks we find in the wild. Now, just to be clear with these counters, I probably won't be narrating every single time we find one of these things, because it will get boring and repetitive. But I will show them all on screen, even if just briefly. In the next area, I took down a few more enemies, and then had a really close call with two light skeeters. Lan survived with only 53 HP, so I made sure to stay away from any more of those enemies for now. Fortunately, none of the other fights came anywhere close, so I was starting to get a little more confident. Then, when we reached Colony 9, I saw a container up on this cliff, which I decided was our #1 priority. This led to a battle with 3 of the aforementioned deadly skeeters, which almost immediately resulted in Noah's death. This was crazy, by the way. Like, again, this is all part of my first recording session and kind of first editing drive that happened right at the very, very start of 2023, kind of end of 22 over the Christmas holidays. This first hour was scary. I mean, Noah would have died here if not for the level up. I got very lucky with that. This is one of those few times where I appreciate level ups kind of refilling your HP. Sometimes it's annoying in other games because you want to save level ups for when it's most helpful to you, but actually it saved Noah right here. And this is where I was really starting to wonder whether this was too hard. The thing that saved us was a level up which refilled our HP. I realized that the earlier encounter with the Skeeters was just a warning sent from the gods above, and that we should learn never to be greedy for containers again. I then completely ignored that and went to get another container. Oh, that's some good narrative writing. I forgot about that one. Well done, me. That was nice. That was good storytelling. We then finally enter Colony 9, get a tutorial I should... Okay, Cube, I'm watching your progress with great anticipation. Apply to real life, have the obligatory... Oh, there's a few fast-paced jokes here. They don't die if you don't use arts? I guess so. I guess that makes sense. It's particularly the boss fight I'm interested in, against the big mech. Containers again. I then completely ignored that and went to get another container. We then finally enter Colony 9, get a tutorial I should apply to real life. I made a joke about this in my actual very first Let's Play video. I remember finding this funny. You walk in and you get a tutorial called The Benefits of Talking. And for someone who's quite introverted, I thought that was hilarious. I found this very funny. So I said, get a tutorial I should apply to real life. I think this probably went underrated, but this is
probably one of those jokes that, again, is not laugh out loud, but like in terms of my internal spirit, this is probably one of my favorite jokes in the whole video.
Have the obligatory awkward bath scene, go to sleep, get woken up, and have to go to an emergency assembly.
And that is an example of how you do good cutscene summaries, where you don't need to talk about all the character stuff, albeit it means I completely skipped over the flashback to Yoren, which might have been a mistake. But honestly, I think skipping over the bath scene was good.
The main Phoronis now opens up, allowing us to get 2 more containers.
That's the
We're
way
then
to do
told that
containers.
we have to investigate a mysterious energy source in Alfeto Valley. This will be a very dangerous mission, which means it's time for the equipment tutorials. Despite my best efforts, we have...
That's another fast-paced joke. You can kind of see that I was on like different kind of vibes throughout this video. I mean, you know, at the very start, we had that patch where I was putting lots of text on the screen. And then in this patch, I seem to be doing lots of kind of fast-paced jokes, despite my best efforts, and I'm trying to leave, and then it just cuts away, just bam, bam, bam. And one of the reasons I like this kind of style of video and commentary is because it allows you to spot new jokes on a rewatch. It means that you can rewatch the video. The third fight is possible to not unsheath. It's the one with a single enemy, then double enemy, and you can die. Okay. Okay. You can do a flashback to the flashback, though? I could. Yeah, I'll probably come back to Yoren when, like, he comes up later in the game. That's kind of the same thing I'm going to do with Tyon's flashback a bit later. Anyway, fast-paced jokes, they're there.
So we are forced into doing some shopping and buy Noah a bronze temple guard. This increases his health, but forces us to replace the previous accessory which boosted damage. I thought the damage was better, so I decided to swap them back. I also noticed our other party members didn't have any accessories, so I gave Lance the health boost, Uni got the feather band because there was nothing better, and Wambo already had a feather band, which I definitely didn't equip. So this is his default accessory, which is weird?
What I thought was weird here was not the fact that he had an accessory, as I think a couple of commenters thought. What I thought was weird was what the accessory does. Boost damage dealt to aerial life by 50%. I just thought that was such a pointless thing to give to him. But anyway. Yeah, this was a nice little quick fire going over some equipment. I think... I will say, I think the... Generally, this video still holds up today. Like, other than the kind of audio quality and the text being a bit hard to read, I actually think the general kind of comedy and storytelling vibe really holds up. I'm proud of this video. Oh yeah, let's go back to Cube Saga. The menu, then the third fight. Now I'm going to do it normally. Okay. Could have made a joke about having a flashback of an unimportant character. Oh, that's so right. Oh, that would have been good. Oh, I'll remember that one. See if it comes up later. It might not. I'll think about that.
Talk to Rold, who needs some materials, and get introduced to Collectopedia cards, which are basically bad quests.
True.
We get the goods, he gives us the money, and then promptly leaves to hide the evidence.
There's another fast-paced joke there. We get the goods, he gives us... This was just one joke after another, and I don't think you would have all caught them, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this as well. I was proud of a lot of my script writing here, because I didn't have to think that hard about it. I can remember writing this all quite quickly. I think we're into my second play session here, so this is kind of going into kind of mid-January.
Then we get a tutorial.
This is my bit now for your streams. I'm the container man. I'm so happy. Honestly, if that means it has value, that's great. I love it. Thank you. Do it for N. Do it for N. Oh, no, you can't say that. You can't say that. I didn't get that one, to be honest. Oh, it's a drugs joke. That's the only way I can put it. We get the goods. He gives us... Yeah, we got the goods for him. He gives us the money and then promptly leaves to hide the evidence. It's a kind of crime joke, basically. Not that that's something I would know about.
On arts, which is good because it allows us to swap some out. We're forced to swap ground beat for air slash, but that's fine because it's better.
I think that's right. I think even Xenowolf didn't tell me that was wrong, so I'm so happy that I got this one decision right about which art was better, I hope. Sorry to just throw a stray at Xenowolf, I didn't mean to do that. He's great, I'm so thankful he's here.
I then decided to swap out Uni's power ring for Vortex. This means we no longer get...
Never mind, I've remembered why it all goes wrong. Oh, never mind. Because I swap... Okay. So I swap off power ring. And this is a mistake, because Power Ring charges her talent art because she's a healer, because that's how healers work. And if I hadn't swapped this, a lot of bad things that happen in the near future don't happen. Which is fine, because it was good content, and that's what matters. But yeah.
The attack up field ring, but in return we get another healing art, which at the moment is much better for us.
No, it's not, because you get rid of the healing ring. Oh no, the one move that charges. Yeah, and I couldn't. If we had the ability to swap characters, I might have noticed, but I didn't this time. So, oh dear.
On lands, I swapped Crash out for Variable Turret. This gives him a more defensive art, which normally I don't like so much, but in this instance I think it works much better. And on Wamba, I changed absolutely nothing. And
I really like this. I'm sorry. This is something you're going to have to learn about me. I love this gif. I think it's funny. And I think this kind of inclusion here is something I try and do to just keep people engaged. Like, if you're someone who's here for the comedy, not for the Nuzlocke, then this kind of bit where I'm changing arts might not sound very interesting. I think this is the kind of bit that doesn't get explained in a sort of typical Pokemon Nuzlocke video. And maybe I didn't need to do it here, but by putting that in, I kind of just bring it back. Lance is dead on the boss fight? Okay. It's already been an hour and we're not even at Herbert. I know. I might need to reconsider next week's stream. I might need to reconsider how long some of this takes. It's fine. I will try and... There are going to be some points in this video where we can watch, so we'll just keep... We're going to go as long as it takes. I don't care.
And finally, we head out to...
I love this video so much. It's so funny. Thank you. I mean, sometimes I don't know if people are being, like, sarcastic or not, but I don't think you are. You... See, there are people in the Xenoblade Nuzlocke streams, but if you're here in this stream, you're a real goat. And that's not to say no one else is a goat also, but I love you. I'm so happy to have just this crowd of people I can ramble at with my rambles. And you know what? I find this video very funny as well. I rewatched it like part way through making the second video, and it kind of reminded me of some things, and it just gave me a real positive vibe. It's a vibe. It is. I'm still really happy with this video.
Towards our mission. Questing.
That was my first attempt at some echo, I think, and it didn't come out nearly as well as I thought. That is something I still find difficult, to be honest, is kind of voice editing, making those effects funny. I need to do some more research into that. Thank you, Brighton. I'm so glad you find it funny. I find it funny too. Which is one of the reasons I was a bit concerned by the second video, because I thought the second one was maybe not as good. The production quality was higher in terms of audio and kind of text and moving parts on the screen. That was better. But I think the raw comedy might still be better in this video on average. There's more rambling in the second. We'll do the this is not the director's commentary of the second video. It's the first one. But yeah, I was really happy with this video. Yeah, it's so possible to die on the boss if you are a bad teammate. Good. I'm so glad we're working this out. I don't know what the point of it is, but yeah. Okay, back to the video. They are in the eternal void of questing. That they are. This was kind of me experimenting with the idea of how many side quests I'm going to include in the video. A little bit.
Instead of just heading straight for the story objective, we need to do some more preparations, considering we nearly died due to literal insects. The first is right at the gate from Pollux, who tells us there's a supply drop somewhere in the area we can claim as our own. To get to the other quests, we need to go this way. But there was a big scary unique monster, so I went this way.
There's the Metal Gear
But
sound.
there were some other big scary monsters, so I went this way, and eventually I found Lenny. Lenny asks if we can see off his friends who didn't make it out of a battle with some Bunnets. Bunnets are one of the great early game evils of Xenoblade, so of course we understand his pain and we will do what we can to avenge them. The Bunnets were actually quite a tough battle because they were taking a lot of aggro from Uni. There were multiple times where she almost died, but I'm sure she would prefer to say that she's just teasing me.
Man, okay, that was raw. Yeah. I have feelings about Uni, man. I shouldn't say that. I'm
then
just
get
going
to
to
send
continue.
off the other soldiers, and since this is our first instance of a group of husks, I want to be clear that the counter at the corner is including each one of the husks in a group.
So it says 6
In this
now.
case, there are 3 husks, so the counter goes up by 3.
Lenny the Lyrebird. I don't expect anyone to get the reference.
I'm really sorry I don't get the reference.
I realize how much you doubt yourself, and I just want you to know your videos are amazing and you should be more confident. Thank you. That means a lot. I mean, the thing about these director's commentaries is it might make me sound like I'm very critical of things. I think I have reached a point, now that we've actually released the second video, now that I've actually done some streams, I've kind of, like, found who I am a bit more. I kind of, you know, this is second video director's commentary, right? But the second video took me nearly 3 years to develop for many reasons. And the first one is just I wasn't working on it long enough. Like, I didn't go on 3 years of emotional torment or anything, but there were a lot of ups and downs to it. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I want to revisit this video, because this video didn't have that. This video kind of just was a passion project, and I just kind of worked on it here and there and went, oh, that's funny, I'll do that. And I wasn't thinking about the kind of audience engagement behind it. I think one of the things I maybe realized is the fact that this video had an algorithm moment and got a load of views a few months after its release. As amazing as that was, I wonder whether a little piece of me felt some pressure from that to make the second one, like, bigger and better or whatever. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm so glad you're here. A great evil is coming, the Bunnets. Indeed. We took out the Bunnets.
After returning to Lenny, we then press on to the supply drop, and there was also a container in the area, and I had to be extremely restrained in order to not risk us fighting a tough enemy. Remember kids, the quest for greed and prosperity may result in death.
I like that too.
Finally, we find Lorea, who tells us there is a missing group of soldiers. I wasn't sure if we could handle the enemies in this quest, so I left it alone for now, but I still discovered the relevant area as it gives us a little bit of XP.
We haven't done this quest, by the way. We'll need to go and do this when we do Xeon's hero quest in one of the next streams. I found you on my For You page 3 years ago. Thank you. Thank you so much. 3 years ago. It's crazy. This game came out nearly 4 years ago. Can you believe that? This video came out just over 3 years ago. It's really, like, I don't know whether to say that 3 years has been a long time or whether it's sped past, because it's been both at the same time. I need to double back for the container. Maybe I do. Yeah, well, I'll probably come and explore this area, like, when we do Xeon's quest. Though I don't know if I'll do all of it, because it might take us a while. We're going to be here, so
Once again, I then spotted a shiny container, which I shouldn't have gone for, but did so anyway.
This is a real theme in this video so far, isn't it? Going after containers that we don't need. I mean, who left a container on this island that we're about to jump to? And I'm really quite happy with this bit of the video.
The reason this one was a problem is because there's a bit of a gap which we have to jump over. I'm counting fall damage.
Just some on-screen graphics to tell you there's a gap in case you didn't know.
As a character dying and therefore losing a class.
That's my. There's so many things happening. I'm so sorry. This video goes quite fast at times. Stop opening my containers. That's highway robbery. No, I'm gonna keep doing it just because you've told me not to. This is my offhand comment about fall damage.
It's because there's a bit of a gap which we have to jump over. I'm counting fall damage as a character dying and therefore losing a class.
I thought that was going to be funny. And it still is, but I didn't realize just how hard things were going to get. So I still think we'll do that, but this was literally the only place I mentioned it.
Editor's note. I know there is water here, so I don't know entirely why I was talking about fall damage, but there are still 2 things to consider. Firstly, the water might be shallow, in which case we still take fall damage. Secondly, the water contains some level 50 enemies, so we are still very much dead if we miss the jump. On with the video.
Was that necessary to include? I don't know. Did it feel fine? Yes. And that's one of those things where I'm just like, does it need to be there? Or could we speed up the pace of the video a little bit by not including it? It's fine if it's just once, but my fear, I think, about the second video is I had a lot of little patches like that. And just when you put lots of them together, it makes the video feel a bit slow. But really, that's again a comment about the second video rather than this one. This container was strategic placement. I tell you what, it was strategically placed for me to have good... That's it! It's all about content, isn't it? You're placing the containers to help me with my content. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's see what happens here.
So if we miss this jump, the run is pretty much over. So, it's time for some dramatic pause whilst you contemplate whether or not I made this jump.
Not the slow frame by frame. I mean, this is one of those little sections that I like rewatched as an editor just to laugh at it. I probably wasted time by laughing at this more than I needed to. I think it was funny. I think the fact that it goes really slowly frame by frame, just because that's how slowed down it is awkward in a way that actually is funny. Like, it loops back around to being not bad but funny. And yeah, we make the jump. I thought that was fun. And again, if you discount the Pokeballs rule, if I miss that jump, the run is over. And that's because I didn't know about the Pokeballs thing. That is how I was genuinely playing the game. So I really shouldn't have gone for this jump. It was a stupid idea. But again, it led to content. I'm so proud of, yeah, the dramatic music. It's a tragic decision, by the way, from Xenoblade 1.
The container gave Uni a much better accessory to boost her healing rather than this fairly useless one.
Well, this is good. Putting the menu up on the top of the screen to save kind of time. Good. That's some nice editing. I mean, it's very
After
basic,
doing another...
Now that's the real one. That's the real kicker. The second one that comes out of nowhere. I think recurring jokes are very funny if you do them right. So I think the second one was great.
Decided to try and grind up to level 7. One of these fights against two Crustips began to go a bit south, and I quickly contemplated what to do.
Here we go.
It was at this moment that I suddenly remembered an incredible power that we possessed that we have not yet used in this run. Something that only veterans of RPG adventure can truly tell the story of. Behold, the key phrase that will unlock our true power, given on high from the heavens above.
You can hear in a number of points at this section that my mic does clip over the top, and that was just kind of bad recording from me. And I did try to re-record some of these sections, but I wasn't able to land the overall sentences the same, so I decided to just leave it in, and I worried maybe for a bit that would make things bad, but actually it's fine, I think. It's not that bad. And by the way, the music in the background here is the God-slaying sword from Xenoblade 1. I don't remember how I found that, but it ended up sticking for the lure section as well. The lure, the section in the second video about the lure function is kind of meant to be what this section was. This was kind of built up to be one of the funniest bits of the video, whether or not that was true.
Whenever you are in danger, you must recite these 6 words. Running away is a valid tactic. Sorry, what was that? Running away is a valid tactic. If you don't know, this is...
I think the opening to this is a bit awkward, but I think... I quite like the joke here. Again, I made this bit probably in January, February, like 2023. I had this on lock about 4 months before the video came out. Deploy valid tactics. Tutorial. We haven't talked about valid tactics in the streams yet, have we? Ah, I'm in top chat again, not all chat. I keep forgetting that. Is there anyone here who I've missed? I'm so sorry.
You get in Xenoblade Chronicles 1. And can we just talk about this? The explicit words used are valid and tactic. That's right, the official developers of this game are plainly stating they are very happy to consider your personal choice not to use this gaming feature as a perfectly acceptable and respectable opinion. And not just that, but they admire your thinking. Some may call us cowards, they may call us weak, but we will hold our pride forever knowing that our flimsy excuse for a battle plan is officially recognized by the highest judge of all as a valid tactic.
Okay, a few comments. First of all, that's 5, isn't it? You said 6. Where was that for? The number of words?
Tutorial you get in Xenoblade Chronicles.
It is 6 words, but now I don't know whether I said 5 or 6. But I'll take it. 6 words. Yeah. I can count 6 words. I know how to count up to 6. I can't count past 10. I said that at the end of this video, but I can count up to 6. So yeah, take that. Yeah. So interestingly, the kind of on-screen... big hand, by the way. The kind of on-screen visuals here, I think, were the very last thing I edited in this video. Because although I found this kind of whole... It's meant to be kind of very stupidly fast pace, right? But I actually kind of struggled to find the right images to put on the screen. And I ended up just thinking these kind of stupid images with like the non-transparent background. I feel like that was the right kind of stupid comedy.
Personal choice not to use this.
Yeah, it is 6 words, by the way. Like, running, that's 1. Away is 2. Is 3. A is 4. Valid is 5. And tactic is 6. I mean, sorry, I don't want to like shine a spotlight on anyway. Hey, maybe you're just dyslexic, and you know what? That's okay. I don't know if that makes it worse. I'm sorry. This is not the content you signed up for. We're talking about the video. Yeah. So you have all these red arrows
Gaming
appearing in
feature
the word
as a
gaming.
perfectly acceptable and respectable opinion. And not just that, but they admire your thinking.
All these stupid
Some may
images.
call us cowards, they may call us weak, but we will...
One of my friends found this really funny, by the way. This was like a bigger meme at the time. Bear in mind, this is the world of 2023, so you have to go back to that kind of internet culture.
Hold our pride forever knowing that our flimsy excuse for a battle plan is officially recognized by the highest judge of all as a valid tactic.
This was probably one of the sections where I realized later on that YouTube's encoding of audio just kind of clips a few more things than the actual audio does. So even though this did clip in a number of places, it sounded a bit more overclipped and kind of overgrained compared to the actual editing clips that I used. But it's fine. I think it was still funny. I would have preferred it without. I'm learning how to do that better. But I still like it. It's my favorite joke in the video. It's probably one of my favorite jokes too. I mean, my actual favorite jokes are probably some of the very short, witty ones that we found earlier. But this is kind of this was kind of built up to be the biggest joke in the video, to be honest. And then
Upon
just a
saying
clear
the key
throat.
phrase, Noah and friends proceed to do a little skedaddle and manage to get out in one
Skedaddle. That word hasn't been caught in the subtitles. Skedaddle. That's me being a bit British again.
piece. So we then find some different enemies and eventually get to level 7.
And the Keves battle
Since we've done
music.
as much of the questing as I wanted to, we are now ready to continue forward into Alfeto Valley.
I think the overall flow of the video is just good. Like, I think when we get to the end of the video, I think there's a few minutes where the flow kind of falls off. But honestly, I think the whole just flow of the video is really solid, even if it's not going at like the pace. This is the one thing I will argue, that even if it's maybe not going at the pace of gameplay that some people expected, like I think a lot of people, when you clicked on this video, probably most of you, expected this whole video to cover the whole game. And fair enough, that's how most content works. But I think what was important to me is not the pace of the game, but the pace of the video, right? I always intended for this to be like a long-term series of multiple episodes. I just didn't think the first part would be an hour. But I actually think the pace has been pretty solid so far. I mean, maybe there's been a few menu bits or bits about aggro we could have cut out a bit, but I think overall it's been pretty solid.
Here we have a forced battle against some Volf. They didn't do too much damage overall, but the main problem is that they were targeting Uni a lot, which is very dangerous. Luckily, we had a few generic unnamed NPCs helping us out. Do they actually do any damage? And
Do they actually do any damage, by the way? I don't think I found the answer to this. It really doesn't matter. You know what? We've done enough experimenting. I need to keep
we won
watching.
the fight. This guy says a funny, and we begin our trek.
Gonna need something a bit more meaty about now. This guy says a funny. That was underappreciated, I think. My script writing was on point here, if I can say that. Which means it's only gotten worse over the years. Never mind. Keep
From
going.
Alfeto Valley. I started off by going for a few more enemies, and then had a bad time with a few more Volf. I spoke the divine phrase and probably switched my strategy with Noah to performing some evasive maneuvers.
I think in a perfect world, I would have put like a little shine effect on the screen here. I spoke the divine phrase, and it's meant to be activating valid tactics, right? But I think maybe a little like shine effect from Noah to be like, oh, he's using the magic powers, might have been good there. Thanks. They probably do minor damage. I mean, actually, we see it later with Mio and Tyon and Senna against the Mobius, so they probably do some damage. actually. Thanks. And yeah, watching a British man play a game of British characters, thank you. I hope to be very British.
Then land started to get low, and for some reason, instead of actually running away, I just stuck it out and hoped I won, which I did, barely.
I don't know why I did this, by the way. Like, I just kept going, thinking... I think I was probably still in a world of not really realizing how difficult hard mode was and how difficult this was going to be. Like, we took out, what, 2 Volf, and we barely survived with everyone. So yeah. But never mind, how hard can it be? Let's just keep going, right?
I realised that there weren't that many more enemies before the next cutscene, so instead of trying to get to level 8, I just went to progress the objective.
Pause.
And this, my friends, is where we have a problem.
This bit's kind of awkward here. There's like 5 seconds of music without talking. I always felt like that was a bit awkward. I think I left that in probably to make the music long enough. And yeah, it's the old version of the boss theme from Xenoblade 1, which I used because I prefer the climax in this version. I think is more impactful. What's the point of Mwamba getting class points? Probably to rank up his arts, because the arts rank up at levels 5 and 10. Rank 5 and 10, right? I guess that's it. Herbert, this is the origin story of Herbert. And this is me in January 2023 thinking, I'm going to make a video about this game. And then this monster, which was foreshadowed by the run ender unintentionally. Yeah.
His boss battle in the Drifter Ropal. Well, how bad can it be? We start off with a Daze combo and generally just...
And by the way, in terms of gameplay purposes, he's not classed as a boss or elite enemy in any way. He doesn't have, like, the marks around his health bar. He's just a regular enemy in all respects.
Things the same as before. He then has this move called Cursed Cuisine, which is a move I will never forget from this game. He jumps forward, deals big damage, and given the move contains cuisine in its name, I can only assume that something of cuisinian nature is occurring. Not only does this deal big damage, it deals AoE damage, and moves him pretty far, which messes up Noah's positioning. Then it happens a second time, which in itself is pretty scary, but this time, the cuisine contains dessert.
Oh, that was cold. That was cold. I was very proud of this. I was very proud at how well this all lined up. I mean, obviously I made the climax line up, but I think even the kind of burn on the end of Lance's health, lines up with the notes.
Cuisine contains dessert.
That dessert line is raw. Wow, I'd forgotten that one. That's raw. I like that. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed there, but each of the burn tick downs kind of just fit so perfectly with the music, which was unintentional, but it was really good. I loved it.
So at this point, the run is technically over. Of course, I wanted to keep going, so I thought I'd just get through the fight and come up with a plan afterwards. Except then... we were getting close to winning the fight, but I knew something needed to change here. So before we continue, let me explain my thought process.
I like that scene. Like, in one sense, it's over the top, but at the same time, that's kind of the point, isn't it? Yeah, I was proud of that. I got goosebumps while editing that. Not while watching it here, because I've watched it enough times, but yeah, I liked that. And yeah, I was panicking during the gameplay, thinking, what am I going to do here? Ryan would have lived. Oh, all right. I'm sorry. Wait, where's my thing gone? I've lost my button. Here it is. We're not even halfway through the video,
we've lost the run. Remember that we are technically using classes, and since we can't change them, we have technically run out of classes to use.
Okay.
But I wanted to make a whole video series out of this for the sake of content. And I don't want to let the content end here just because of some insert enemy insult here.
I don't know if that landed.
Since we're so early into the game,
this is kind of one of those scenes that maybe
the same outcome, so
maybe I could have cut a bit of this.
However,
but
we still absolutely deem these classes to be lost, and there will be some form of punishment for it later in the run.
No, there wasn't.
What I do want to commit to, though, is trying to beat this fight, quote, legitimately. I want to beat this fight without any of our party members dying, so that we have at least experienced how the run should have been and what it would have taken to get there. If we just keep going as we are, then the first chapter of the game becomes a lot less exciting. So to summarize, we lost, but we're continuing, but we are going to do this genuinely first so we can kind of say we did it. Some of you may be thinking this is just a pathetic excuse to keep making this video, but I would prefer to call it a valid tactic.
A valid tactic. That's kind of another example where I think I was trying to end a kind of big explainy, rambly segment with a joke to kind of keep people engaged, maybe. I don't know whether that was intentional or not, because I also said I wrote this genuinely. So I can't quite remember, but that's kind of where maybe my brain is. Maybe I'm doing it without even realizing. I don't know. I don't think there's much I wanted to cut there, but I think it's good. I think it explains like my thinking, and it just kind of alternate timeline in the Endless Now. We get stuck with Herbert. I mean, as we're about to discover, the only way I beat Herbert was with the DLC, which is crazy. This was good. Okay, so at this point, I'm editing this section of the video in like February. And I had some fun with this. I was enjoying this.
So, our goal is to beat this enemy. No, you know what? We'll give this thing a name. Herbert. That is the first thing that...
And there's the origin story. Do you want to know how I thought of Herbert? I don't know. I don't remember. I think it just popped into my head and went, oh look, it's Herbert. You did not flee, ergo no valid tactics were employed. Well, the joke is about making the video... Well, no, I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to pretend you didn't say that.
It popped into my head, so Herbert it is. Our goal is to beat Herbert.
Fog Beast music?
What I did not realize is that Herbert would be a little bit of a challenge. Please enjoy my summary of the Herbert Chronicles.
This was one of the points where I did debate putting chapters on the YouTube videos. I think chapters were kind of new at the time. New-ish. He does look like a Herbert, yeah. Say what? Exactly, I didn't say anything. Running away from the conversation? Damn it. It's a valid tactic. I'm running away from the conversation. This was one of the points where I did debate putting a chapter in the description. My kind of 50-50 on chapters is I don't want to spoil like what happens if you're looking ahead at chapters, which I know sounds really weird, but you kind of do it on YouTube, right? You kind of can't always avoid some of what I don't know. It depends if you look at them. So I decided not to put chapters on this video, but did decide to put them on the second video. And I don't really know which one worked in the end. It's fine. This is the Herbert Chronicles. Oh yeah, but kind of what it means for me is the way I kind of edited this video was in chapters, right? So to me, like the different sections of there are just different sections of the video that I think each have their own little bit of style. We talked about the first section having the kind of the text on the screen, and then the next section was kind of the fast-paced jokes, maybe. Like, I don't think it was all intentional. I think it was just what kind of mood I was in at the times where I was developing those. And then this is the next section, which was kind of very fast-paced. And I actually think the Fog Beast music was really fitting. I was really happy I chose it. And obviously, if it wasn't fitting, I would have chosen something different.
Attempt 2. Initially, I just tried to fight again because we weren't that...
So the only thing I could have done here that I would have done today is put some stroke around the text. Just make it more obvious. Because if there's like a lighter background, it'll blend in too much. But yeah, otherwise let's just watch this through and try and keep up.
Off the first time, and of course we still lost. Attempt 3. This is where I noticed that RNG, both of the enemy and our party, really had a big factor in this fight. Herbert killed Uni halfway through, which means restart. So at this point I realised we needed to improve ourselves, and I went to grind to level 8. I also realised that we get class rank ups even though we haven't been taught about them yet, and that if we get our characters to class level 10 they will upgrade our arts, so that was now my main priority. I took out enemy after enemy after enemy and utterly destroyed the ecosystem in this nearby area. We also took out our first elite enemy, which really wasn't that bad, which makes me a bit more confident to take them on in future, which is probably a mistake. And after doing this, we rank up Noah's Arts, which basically means they do more damage and have less recharge. Attempt 4 was exactly the same, but I put it down to being rusty after grinding. Attempt 5, this one was so close, but unfortunately our tank just needed to be a bit meatier. Attempt 6, failed. Attempt 7, failed. At this point, I decided to rethink our arts. Uni couldn't do anything better, but on lands I swapped uppercut slash for solid stance. This improved his defense, but since I removed the key art for gaining aggro, attempt 8, Noah gained the aggro and got cooked. So this time I swapped off variable turret for uppercut slash again. Attempt 9. At this point, Uni was getting bored and decided not to daze, so I restarted manually. Attempt 10.
The
Uni
Uni
didn't daze
subplot.
again, which started to really concern me, and I wondered if this was actually a signal that my love for her is really unrequited. My last hope was to change Mwamba's arts to see if he can use his legendary power to save us. But they were best as they already were.
The Uni subplot is real. I guess my only kind of airness about that video, about that little section, is I don't really conclude it as to why things are going wrong. The Uni not dazing thing kind of just is different to the other fights. I don't know, but you don't really notice. I still think it was. I think that's funny as well. This is probably one of my favorite sections of the video. We're not even halfway through. Oh my gosh, this is taking forever. I'm talking too much. I thought it was. It will get easier at the end. I'm still I still think the flow is there. I'm still happy with this. Oh great. Oh my days. Oh thank you. Maybe I need to keep the Uni subplot going.
I took back to the Azana Plains and ended my play session by defeating a couple more innocent bystanders. After this, I got a little distracted in my life by playing some other pretty cool games and didn't end up playing on this save file again for about a month.
True.
Some might call this procrastination, but I would instead argue that I was merely resting my soul, replenishing my energy, so that one day we could return and claim victory over Herbert.
Someone commented that this was a very kind of Zanza-esque line, which is very true. It was actually completely unintentional. Or it was unintentional but has been ingrained into me through Xenoblade. So it might have had a link, but it wasn't written to purposefully sound like that. But actually, it's really close. I rewatched some bits of Xenoblade 1 recently. And yeah, it was unintentionally quite close. Do you remember which games you were playing? I do. One of them was Fire Emblem Engage, because that came out at the time. The other one is an RPG that, this is going to sound suspicious as heck, but I actually want to keep a secret because I want to kind of stream it as a surprise one day. I don't think it got the attention it deserved. It's an indie RPG that went kind of very underrated. And I want to keep it a secret until I stream it, which will probably be in like a year's time, genuinely. So you're going to have to wait. I don't know. No, it doesn't matter. It was called Chained Echoes. Chained Echoes is a great RPG. It's an indie game. It's not perfect, but I absolutely loved it. And it had a little style that I don't know, I just loved. So I'll be streaming that one day, but I'm going to be streaming it as like a suspicious thing. Now I probably shouldn't have told you. It doesn't matter. Can you guys forget I told you that? You will forget I ever said this. You will forget I ever said this. Valid tactics. Let's move on with the video.
And in my slumber, I was eventually revived by one thought that had not crossed my mind thus far. One final tool that could give us a chance. The expansion pass. That's right, folks. This run just officially became pay to win.
Well, the pay to win is one of my favorite jokes in the video. Honestly, it is. The fact that we beat this with DLC, the run is pay to win. I thought that was funny. And you may not notice the background music here is The Whims of Fate from Persona 5, which is the casino palace. So it was kind of giving into that kind of pay to win money kind of theme. That's just another little sub thing that you might not notice all the time about some of those choices. What did you say to... Yeah, I'm so glad you will play into this. Thank you so much. You had early access to Xenoblade Genesis? No, I didn't, because trust me, the video would never have come out if I'd had Xenoblade Genesis. I'm just going to quit content for a month when Xenoblade Genesis comes out, okay? A month at best. Let's go gambling. That's kind of what it is, yeah.
The later packs of the DLC are packed with cool new content. The first wave is simply some extra items and accessories.
Oh, and you can also see when I recorded this, because the...
That's right,
because the fourth pack hasn't been revealed yet. Volume 4, which is Future Redeemed. So even though the video came out like 2 months after that, you can actually see that the footage came from earlier. If you just pay attention to those details, you can find those.
This run just officially became pay to win. While the later packs of the DLC are packed with cool new content, the first wave is simply some extra items and accessories. But in this limited, early section of the game, these accessories are our true savior. These are what we need to truly become a bit meatier. There are probably a few options that work from these items, but this is what I decided to go with. Noah took the Nop-on strap, a 10% chance to keep an art's recharge.
This was actually really helpful, I think, in this early phase of the game. This 10% chance to keep recharge, I remember that being helpful.
To remove the auto attack boost, but overall I think this is better value. Uni had to lose her accessory that boosted healing, but instead got another accessory that boosts healing differently. I don't actually know which one of these is better, but
Oh, some of you have given me the answer to this question as to the difference between the healings, but I can't remember what it is, and that's probably bad. Anyway, we'll answer that question in the main game.
I went with the newer one because bigger number activate brain neurons.
Riku and Manana opened a container? Wait. What if Riku's the one who put the containers everywhere? Surely that's unironically one of the better lore explanations. Is that Riku? It's Riku. I'll let us think on that.
Lands, we were able to upgrade our 20%.
Oh, and you also missed bigger number activate brain neurons. Bigger number activate brain neurons.
On lands, we were able to upgrade our 20% HP boost to 25%. Some of these gains might sound small, but given our fights with Herbert have been fairly close thus far, this should hopefully give us the edge we need. As a final precaution, I got us up to level 9, which also served as a way to test the new setup. Doing this also got Lands and Uni up to class level 10, which means their arts are now upgraded as well. With all this done,
So just to analyse, Herbert has taken up... well, this is about 20 minutes. Herbert's taken up about 7 minutes of the video. That's how this beast lives on.
Trekked the short path before us, knowing that this fight was to be the end of it all. The fate of the run would be decided here.
Of course, unfinished
Win
battle.
or lose, to face our destiny.
Yeah, I kind of leaned into that, really, didn't I? I love this bit, man. I mean, even though the picture-in-picture is kind of a bit goofy, I thought it was good. I thought it was fun. And then this times with the music. Slap. And I also spliced the music here. I cut to the later part of the track, and it's about to happen again, and I think it was pretty smooth. Right here. You can tell if you listen for it. I was having a lot of fun here. I went off the rails with this editing. And then he goes to his mouth. And I just timed the frames with the music. How did he survive? He was in his mouth. It's over the top, it's cliche, but this is also one of my favorite bits of the video. I'm happy with that. I don't have anything else to say. I don't know why I paused. I was happy with that. Get out of here, Herbert.
Our reward for defeating Herbert is a cutscene with the legendary Mwamba.
Why did Mwamba become a meme, by the way? I never understood this, because I tried to avoid a lot of, like, Reddit and social media when Xenoblade 3 was coming out in, like, those couple of weeks, because I was playing the game slower than most people were. So I kind of, out of nowhere, did I just start seeing lots of Mwamba memes? Why did he become a Mwamba meme? I don't know. Just, well, probably in the same way that Juju did, I guess. And Uni still didn't daze, did she not? Wow, okay.
Here we learn that Mwamba is only a month away from his homecoming. He then goes on ahead to help with another group, and so our party is reduced to 3. It's a good job this happens after the Herbert fight, or else we may have never passed this boss.
True.
Bearing in mind that Herbert isn't even really a story boss. He's one of those filler bosses with no intended character.
I did wonder at one point whether I could, like, build this line into some kind of... like, oh, remember earlier when I kind of offended the spirit of Herbert by saying he was just a filler boss? He wasn't a real boss. He doesn't have real character. I don't know. I don't think I did anything with that. But yeah, there's more to Herbert to come, I think. I didn't really do much with him in the second episode, to be honest. Which kind of surprised me, but I'm sure he'll come back. He always comes back.
Anyway, we can now finally move on with the story. Remember the whole urgent mission thing? Apparently there's a threat even greater than Herbert that we need to deal with. Whilst we're here, it would be good to do a few more random battles just to try and level up and... Uni!
That was my first attempt at, like, a far away scream, and I don't know how well it worked, but I think it probably landed where it needed to. This just made me sigh, man. How many times have we lost these classes already?
Next, we find the rest of our fellow colony soldiers, who at any moment could have decided to check why we hadn't arrived for several hours and come back to help us defeat Herbert.
And I don't know if you saw this guy disappear and come back, which is another bit of text on the screen. This guy over here,
Any moment
on the right, he says bye. Oh, you can't see my cursor, I forget that. But the guy on the right disappears and says bye.
To check why we hadn't arrived for several hours and come back to help us defeat Herbert.
So there's two jokes at the same time.
Instead, we will have to take solace by the campfire. Campfires, also known as rest spots.
Herbert was a Hox? Oh my gosh. Oh, we can include the Hoxes in Mobius H. Mobius H will be a double whammy. Oh, nice. I think the problem is Mobius H is such like a random out there boss. I think it's Lanz's Ascension quest. But yeah, Mobius H is going to be a... I shouldn't be putting pressure on myself. Mobius H will no doubt be a problem, but I don't know how it's going to land yet.
Okay,
cool. Now we talk about campfires.
At this point, we only have a couple of features available to us, but we have a very important one: leveling up. Throughout the game, we can get bonus EXP by doing stuff. Stuff is like a personal mannerism that I've kept in the other videos. You've probably heard this, where I say stuff, just for kind of random things. You know, instead of saying we get bonus XP for doing quests or doing fights, we get it by doing stuff. And I quite like stuff as one of my kind of mannerisms that might go forward. We can use the bonus XP to level up our party separately from the XP earned in battle. It's actually a very nice system because it allows you to have a little more control over your party's level, either if you want to go higher or if you want to keep it lower for more challenge. In this tutorial, we're forced to bring everyone to level 10, but that's perfectly fine for us. And just like that, we are level 10.
I found that funny, the way they just swing a sword
After a quick
once.
mission review, we press on. Using our epic iris technology, we can see that there are now Agnian troops in the area. However, we can't see our main target due to the black fog interfering with the iris. We move in closer, and the Kevesi and Agnian forces begin shooting what appears to be an invisible ship.
This was quite good, actually, my summary of this cutscene. This is the right level of just not skipping over it completely, but giving enough context to just kind of not be... I think one of my problems in the second video is I did too much story explanation. I think I will dial back on that for the third and beyond videos. I mean, equally, there's no real, like, character development in this scene, so it doesn't matter, but I think this was the right balance.
We now have to make a trek down through the valley.
Where do I find Ashira? Because I've never met her. You find her outside the front of Keves Castle. There's a colony just near Keves Castle. That's where you find Ashira. Oh yeah, sorry, someone else answered the question, sorry. Stuff is good, because I think you also just get it from exploring, opening check. You get stuff by doing a lot of stuff.
Where the craft crash landed. Along the way, there are lots of enemies to fight. Some are regular monsters, but some enemy Agnian forces. A couple of these battles are forced, but they don't cause any trouble. We get an intermissary scene where we have definitive proof that, despite being the equivalent of 18 years old, our party have been raised as a bunch of trained killing machines. There's then this odd skirmish where we can choose whether to aid Keves or Agnes, but really we can only aid Keves. The illusion of choice at its finest.
Maybe I should have put like a picture on the screen here to enhance the joke, the one with the cow and the two doors, but it's fine. I think the illusion of choice joke still landed.
And just for the record, in this short trek through Alfetta Valley, we have killed a total of 19 Agnian soldiers, not because they are...
Oh look, actual fancy text with like... Yeah, just a different style of text. I wanted to make the point here that we actually like did kill some enemy soldiers on the way here. And we don't really do it throughout the rest of the game, because they talk about just knocking them out. But yeah, we actually, well, presumably, we killed 19 enemy soldiers.
Our main objective, but just because they're here. Agnes equals bad, stealing life equals good, and that's the way of the world. There were also a couple of Levnesses, but I'm not counting those as killing exactly because they're robots and therefore are not sentient. Uh-oh, someone didn't like my suggestion that robots are not sentient, and now we have to fight some robots.
That was good. That was a purposeful setup. There are some jokes in this video where like the setup was accidental, but that was purposeful. Oh, the robots are not sentient. Oh no, actually there are robots.
Robots, however,
like that.
are not Kevesi or Agnian, and are in fact related to the mysterious object we are searching for. This was a little bit precarious when there were 2 of them, but once there was only 1 left, it was no problem. Same goes for the few others we took down on the way to the next scene. During said next scene, we see some other humans that appear to be from neither Keves nor Agnes. The mysterious object is some kind of magic stone that the unknown humans are trying to protect. Noah goes to take a closer look, and we are suddenly ambushed by sentient origami.
I love
This
the
turns
origami.
into a trio of enemy Agnian soldiers, one wielding twin rings, one wielding a big hammer, and one wielding said origami, which is so damn cool. Conveniently, each one represents a role: attacker, defender, and healer. I decided to go for the textbook option of dealing with the healer first. Uni took this as a personal insult and decided not to cooperate. As with
the uni subplot continues. I didn't realize how much I put that kind of uni subplot into the video, but I guess I did. Huh. I guess my only comment at this point is there hasn't been like a good joke in like a couple of minutes, I think. Not since the robots. Maybe, but we'll just keep going.
Fine, I want to do this legitimately, so I restarted. This time I focused on the attacker first, to limit the amount of damage being dealt.
Good.
I should also mention that at this point I was starting to have some strange connection issues with my right
Oh
Joy-Con.
no!
Joy-Cons are
The
based, which
Joy-Con problems come back. Oh, it was here all along. Oh, the controller counter comes back. Okay, so this wasn't dropping the controller, but bear in mind, this is back with the Switch 1. I'd had the Joy-Cons for a while, and basically just one of the Joy-Cons looked like it was drifting a lot. So there's a point later where I show the camera, but yeah, there was some Joy-Con drift happening here, but I think I fixed it later.
meant that some of my button inputs weren't registering, and this will persist for the remainder of the video, so please bear that in mind. Regardless of this, our new targeting strategy let us win the fight on the second try. The helmet masks are broken, allowing us to see the 3 characters in all their glory.
That's why you drop them? Yeah, they actually just drift out of my hand and I drop them. Huh. Okay, look, the issues are not all caused, but yeah, the issue is probably maybe I just dropped. We're gonna move on. Valid tactic.
And for the sake of convenience, I will reveal that their names are Mio, Senna, and Tyon.
I probably didn't need to specify that. I probably could have just started calling them Mio, Senna, and Tyon, and no one would have batted an eyelid. But anyway.
Which seems to be fairly evenly matched, until Noah suddenly remembers that he is intelligent. He realizes that Mio's attacks have a rhythm, which he then exploits in order to take the advantage. To then truly prove that he is a JRPG protagonist, Noah initiates a coherent conversation whilst deep in combat. Our attention is then turned to the...
Yeah, so in the second video, the style of editing I had there, I would probably have cut to a line that Noah said, or something, and tried to make more of a big deal of their conversation. And I think that would probably have been a mistake. It just draws it out a bit more than they need to. Your Joy-Cons look like they survived the Salt Iron War. Salt Iron War reference? That's crazy. Man. Yeah, I think I got the cutscene explanations kind of right in most of this part of the video. Riku is the protagonist, who's Noah. Well, we don't really know about Riku's power yet, so he's just building his power.
Mysterious man, whose name, by the way, is Guernica Van Dam, but the party don't know this yet, who proceeds to be an absolute beast by firing his gun into the sky and pinning down both Noah and Mio. He summarizes his opinion in one crucial line.
Think about your real target. That thing!
The party...
Yeah, piece of trivia, I think that's the first time I've cut to game audio. I think. This is kind of the point where you can see... again, we talked about editing styles, like we had one style over here and another style over here, and this was kind of the piece where I started to actually care more about talking about the story. And of course, that's because the scene was more emotional, so I think it makes sense. But yeah, you see a lot of me kind of cutting to people's lines here. But actually, I think this is a really, really important scene
crucial
in the game.
line.
Think about your real target. That thing!
Uni and Noah's
The parties
follow-up is
became
important.
so focused on fighting one another that they forgot about their real objective.
Polarization.
When Guernica asks why they are fighting, both sides think it's fairly obvious: to defeat their enemy. But Noah, being the awesome philosopher that he is, sees through this.
It'll never replace the friend.
Awesome philosopher is another running joke that will continue to be a running joke, but probably won't mean anything. This happens in the second video. I call him the ultimate philosopher, and then I call him the ultimate out-of-the-box philosopher. And kind of a running joke I wanted to start is that every time I call Noah a philosopher, I want to add one adjective and make the phrase longer and longer. I don't know how well it's going to work. It's going to be the type of running joke that you only see once or twice per video, but that was what I was trying to start here. I didn't actually continue it technically because I changed the adjective next time, not added a new one. But anyway, this is the origin. And then we have Uni talking.
Fighting one another that they forgot about their real objective. When Guernica asks why they are fighting, both sides think it's fairly obvious, to defeat their enemy. But Noah, being the awesome philosopher that he is, sees through this.
It'll never replace the friends we've lost. That's why.
We aren't fighting because we want to.
Goat Noah
We're
right
not.
here.
We can see our lives written before our eyes. Fighting is all we have. Is it any wonder we lose loved ones? Or have to take them from others? All of us. We have to fight so we can go on living.
Guernica sees that Noah is no ordinary soldier, and he entrusts them with the answer.
There was, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. There was a little cut
Go
here.
on living.
Let's just see this, right? So this is a dissolve transition. It's kind of fading from one to the other. But if I go frame by frame, you will see that the frame with Noah cuts to Mio right there. And what you will see if we watch like just a few seconds is you kind of just
Lose loved
notice
ones.
this.
I'll have to take them from others.
And I try to really avoid this happening
All of
with
us.
my editing now.
We have to fight so we can go on living.
Guernica sees that Noah...
You just kind of see like a flash on the screen. And it's just because the fade goes to... The transition actually transitions to something else at the same time. And I try to now really, really avoid this happening. Most people avoid this happening by having hard cuts rather than kind of fade dissolves or other types of transitions. I always wanted to use more dissolve-y because I wasn't sure if hard cuts were like... I don't know if they just hurt your brain more, like just by cutting constantly to places. I used them more in the second video, and actually it really doesn't matter. But that's where, like, you will see me use dissolve transitions a lot more than other people did, or at least I used to. I probably will still do more of them. But that's just a comment of, like, something that you won't ever notice in the editing, but I try and, like, you have to really kind of frame perfect these things. So I had to either make the transition shorter, or you have to extend one clip or the other. But sometimes that means the clip gets a bit too fast. Sometimes that means the music gets out of time. It can be a real juggle sometimes. And it's the kind of little detail that is effective, but no one will notice it and isn't necessarily worth your time. But I kind of do it anyway. I don't know. That's just kind of a ramble. This was one of the things I wanted to talk about here in the director's commentary. My jump scare. Yeah, they do jump scare you a bit. I just think they offset you a bit. And I like to try and avoid that. We still got 20 minutes, so I gotta keep playing.
Noah is no ordinary soldier, and he entrusts them with the answer.
Because the face of your real enemy is...
Or he would if we wanted to prevent the rest of the game's story. Suddenly, a big red beast appears, carrying an Agnian soldier named Hacked, as well as Mwamba. Guernica, who actually survived that blast, names the creature as Mobius. Mobius then does the unthinkable.
Okay, a few things here. The first thing to mention is that by this point in my editing timeline, we're into like April. I recorded the whole Herbert bit in January, I think, but it took me a while, partially because of the other games I was playing. It took me a while to actually edit this. So it wasn't until kind of mid-April when I got some time off work that I actually recorded this. So kind of from here to here, there's probably like a 2-month, 3-month gap in gameplay and sort of in editing as no, not in editing, but kind of. So this is now like April. Oh, hey, unimportant character. Thanks for bringing that back. Thank you. The second thing is that I actually really struggled. I kind of worried about this Mwamba section. I wasn't sure how to correctly land, like, he then kills Mwamba. To say it like that kind of felt off, but I also knew that because Mwamba was a meme, I needed to make, like, a big deal of it. So this, I think, was another line that this is one of the only points of the video. Another one is the valid tactics. Where I actually got stuck and I left it for later. But most of this video was just kind of edited in order. I edited this, then I edited this, then I edited this, then I edited this. And there were barely any points where I actually left it just a bit uncertain. Whereas in the second video, it was built completely differently. It was built in a kind of random order because I really struggled with it. And we'll get onto that in a couple of weeks. So yeah, the third thing, just to point out, is this is the start of the Guernica who actually survived joke, which is a running joke I quite liked here.
Blast names the creature as Mobius.
I don't know if I need to point that
then
one out to
does
you, but I
the
will.
unthinkable.
All right.
This instills rage in both.
Noah screams a bit more than I remember there. That's a higher scream than I remember. I guess
All right.
I don't really appreciate the emotion in this, actually.
This instills rage in both parties, who begin to launch their attacks. As the party begin to fight this enemy, Guernica, who is
Oh, here's a... Let me just go back and check this again, right?
All right.
Okay, so here's something that, again, you probably won't notice, but is actually really important, is the music. So right here, we've got... Oh, wait. No, actually, this might be wrong. Okay, what I was going to say is the cutscene has music, right? And what I actually do is I kind of cut off from the game audio, but keep the music playing. So I actually have to insert... So this is game audio, and at some point it will swap to cutscene. Still game.
This instills rage in both parties,
But now the
who begin
music's
to
still
launch
playing.
their attack.
But you can see this Guru, you scum, we don't hear, but the music is still playing. So what I actually do there is I actually time the music. I find the correct piece of music and time it directly to the cutscene, and then kind of fade it out and just kind of make it line up, and you don't notice. And that's actually because I think in this example that's completely wrong. I have a feeling this music doesn't actually play over the cutscene. I think I've inserted this music. So ignore that whole example for this cutscene, but it does matter later. So I should have talked about it later. Valid tactics. Let's move on.
As the party begin to fight
bring it
this
up
enemy,
later.
Guernica, who is still alive,
He's still
manages
alive.
not only to climb into this machine, but fully operate it and land a blow on the enemy. But sadly, he is then tossed aside and... Wait, he's still alive?
Well, crud. Hell of a throwing arm.
This man got impaled in the chest, tossed several meters in a machine, and should absolutely be bleeding to death, but he is still able to make loose, joking remarks. Huge respect. Noah jumps in to save Guernica, and the boss fight begins.
Yeah, that music thing I mentioned
The
isn't relevant here, but I'll come back to it later.
News is that the Agnian trio are actually helping out in this fight, albeit not as part of our party. The bad news is that Mr. Mysterious Enemy has some very scary art names.
I think this was probably a small mistake. Vandam calls the creature Mobius, but then from here on out, I only really call him the Mysterious Enemy in this fight, or at least halfway through. I could have just called him Mobius. Albeit, this was a bit of stubbornness, actually. So a fun fact about my first playthrough. I misunderstood that the name Mobius related to the whole group. I thought this one enemy was just called Mobius, and it took me some time later to realize. In my first playthrough, I started calling the group of enemies the alphabet for a short while, and I only realized they were all called Mobius until kind of after Chapter 2, early Chapter 3. So that might have been one thing, is I was like, I don't actually know this guy's name, and it's, I don't know, I was being a bit stubborn with it, actually. I don't know if that made any sense to you, but we continue. But I do call him Mysterious Enemy. And I think I should have just called him Mobius, but never mind.
Including
I don't know about that editing, to be honest. I think I could have made this... I think I could have done something slightly different to show off the art names. But it's fine. I think you still got the idea. Oh, you're playing through Ashira's quest now? Yeah. Ashira is one of my favorite hero characters. Like, in terms of design, like, whether she's the best, As a character is debatable. Would she be a person I liked hanging out with? I don't know, but she's definitely one of my favorite characters. We'll get to her later in the Nuzlocke. Right now we're on the mysterious enemy who has some very scary art names.
He is also the first enemy we have encountered to have an enraged status.
Oh yeah.
This means that when his health bar passes the big fiery mark, he becomes angry and is not very nice.
He's not very
Initially,
nice.
this fight went fairly well, with Noah taking a little bit of aggro to spread out the damage, and Lance doing pretty solid with his HP. However, this enraged status proved to be a problem, as Lance died. Listen, at this point, all three of them have died several times over, so this doesn't feel like a huge loss. But again, we are doing this legitimately, and so I restarted the fight.
It's insane that they put DOT attacks at the start of the game. I guess I never noticed that, actually. Huh. Yeah, fair enough. But we are on hard as well.
Just between you
and I don't have healing ring, and I've got the wrong arts, and yeah, my setup could have been better.
me, I am certain that this creature has some sort of fond relation to Herbert. In fact, I like to believe that when...
Why did I stand around and do nothing here? Maybe this is the Joy-Con issue. You see how I'm just running around and not actually targeting him? Maybe that's the Joy-Con issue.
the enemy becomes enraged, the ghost spirit of Herbert lends its power to the enemy so that they can become strong enough to defeat us.
Okay, there was actually a joke here that I didn't use. I was going to make it like a running gag to... I wanted to like make a little crop out of Herbert and then like insert the image just very small on top of the fire mark. So instead of the fire mark being on the health bar, it would be the Herbert mark. If you see what I mean, like it would just be a little cutout of Herbert on top of it, like a little sticker. The problem is that it was actually really difficult to make a cutout of Herbert because it's really dark. And just kind of because like... Just because he's like a monster, he doesn't really have a good face, or like... It just doesn't look good. It would have just been a grey smudge. Yeah. Your comment says redacted. I don't know if that's moderation based or whether you've put the word redacted. I'm just interested to know like how the moderation's gone there. I don't know. It doesn't matter right now. But let me, it does matter actually. It really does. But let me know. Anyway, the Herbert mark. Yeah. So if anyone can make a great cutout of Herbert, please do. But I don't think you'll be able to because it just doesn't work. Even in editing, Herbert is the bane of your existence. He is, because I spent, not hours, but I spent a little bit of time trying to make a mark or something. And I was going to put it... I think what I really wanted to do was just put it over the fire mark at some point and not tell anyone and just see if people noticed. Oh, you put redacted. Great. Okay, good. Sorry. This is me still learning kind of streaming and how the chat works and being conscious that I don't really have any moderation and I just need to be aware of how that works. So I'm kind of being overreactive to it. Sorry. Okay. Herbert mark, mysterious enemy. How much video have we done in the...
Please do bear in mind, I was having some minor difficulties with my controller. But that...
Oh yeah, that camera spinning round was just the Joy-Con. That little section of the camera, that was just the Joy-Con. It's not because I dropped it.
Definitely wasn't enough to change the outcome of the fight. Some of these fights were definitely based on RNG to do with break. Sometimes the enemy can resist a break, meaning that we can't start a Topple Days combo. Our fifth attempt was much closer, but again, could be based on RNG. I did notice, however, that after the previous fight with the Agnian trio, we were extremely close to level 11. I instead used the give up option to go back and defeat one more of the automatons from before. Although level ups are not a game changer, it could give us the edge we need to win. However, when going back into the fight, bearing in mind that we are re-entering the boss arena and not just restarting, we can see that Mysterious Enemy and the Agnian trio are already fighting in the distance.
This was interesting, by the way. I don't know if anyone had actually discovered this before. I don't think anyone commented about this, but I had no clue this existed. And I just wonder how many people knew this, because you don't really lose this fight. I guess unless you do, from the damage over time. 2-hour mark, director's commentary for 2 is going to be years. It is, man. You know what I thought, right? I thought this stream was going to be like an hour and a half. And so my plan for next Monday, next week, was going to be to do director's commentary, not just of the second video, but of like all the little intermission videos, like the rules video and the deleted scene. I wanted to add those on. And so I thought next week would be like a 3-hour stream for that. But if this has taken over 2 hours, I might need to rethink that. I might need to do the intermission, like, separate videos. as their own stream. I don't know. There are some things to talk about there. I'm going to need to think about that. Yeah. You need to study, but this stream is better. Well, for the sake of making it not my problem, I will tell you that you should study, and that's very important. But if you choose to watch the stream, I won't do anything about it. But I need to make sure I'm being responsible too. Let's keep going. So the Agni and Trio fight them.
And when we enter, his health bar is already slightly depleted, specifically about 10%. This is a huge advantage to us, and so I went in with a newfound confidence. This clearly didn't help my strategy, as we somehow managed to lose the fight with more enemy HP remaining than usual. But in seeing that it was possible to start the fight with less HP, I decided to experiment. On the next try, I waited several minutes before going in to see whether it made a difference.
Yeah, I just kind of sat there and then used my phone for like 5 minutes and just kind of sat and waited to see what would happen.
Fortunately, the amount of HP remained the same. A second question had also crossed my mind about trying to return to Colony 9.
Okay.
You're never supposed to be in this situation, so I was curious to see if anything was programmed. Turns out that all of these battles against Agnian soldiers respawn, which I guess means we've actually increased our kill counter by 6. When I returned to the boss fight, I took another look.
Okay, so just a comment here. You know I said I wanted to go and return to Colony 9, but then I get distracted by the Agnian soldiers? I never actually returned to Colony 9, so I still don't know the answer to that question. I don't know what happens if you go back to Colony 9, and I never show it. So, I don't know. It was just kind of something I left hanging. Don't do uni, go to uni? True. I like that phrase. I know it's not the first time you've said it today, and I've kind of ignored it. But I do like that pun. I do. What do I do here? Colony 9.
Look at our arts. I decided to swap uppercut slash for variable turret to give Lanz a more defensive setup. This does remove his aggro gaining art, which was a real problem when we tried it on Herbert, but I thought that if I could control myself as Noah, this could work out. At one level, it was working, because even if Noah gained the aggro, it was only brief, and we've already discussed that it's good for Noah to take a couple of hits here and there. The problem was that controlling Noah's aggro means controlling his arts, which means we were doing significantly less damage. But if you are faithful and patient, then you will be rewarded. On my 4th attempt with the new art setup, I waited about 90 seconds before entering the fight.
Oh yeah, and we got the climax boss music coming in.
We started off strong with a dazed combo and hit 25% with minimal damage taken.
Uni actually dazed?
After using an overclock buster, we got a bit too much aggro, and it looked like Noah was going down.
Oh, and one other comment here. Something I realized afterwards is that actually the overall loudness of my voice and the video gradually increased later on in the video, and it was just a mistake in editing. And what this means is that there's a lot more of this kind of second half of the video that just clips over the microphone slightly. So I made sure that in the other video the second video, I made sure to try and normalize all of the audio, which took a while, and there's probably better ways of doing it, but it was a good experience. It was worth doing.
Another dazed combo was enough to stall out, but no healing from Uni. The enemy now became enraged, and although the aggro had moved, an AoE attack put Noah in a delicate balance. Now Lanz was getting low, and soon both Noah and Lanz were at their limit. But thanks to a perfect heal from Uni, as well as some incredible gaming skill, we were able to overcome the mysterious enemy. It took 13 attempts and just over an hour of perseverance, but we never lost hope and eventually found a way.
I don't know if anyone else noticed, by the way, the kind of boss conclusion riff there. I use it in the other video as well, and I quite liked doing that. Again, it's just, if there's one thing I am proud of that I feel I've done better than like other people might have expected, it's music. I'm very happy with my music choices and like the way I edit it in, and it's probably not that crazy editing, but I think that's something I'm proud of how I've done.
And just over an hour of perseverance, but we never lost hope and eventually found a way. In the cutscene after, we see Guernica, who is still alive, bashing on the stone and trying to make it work.
Okay, here we go.
At the perfect moment, he presses the button. And in that instant, the world changed forever.
I wish I said that line better, but it doesn't matter. It still gets cool.
An Officer? Really? Miyabi? This is all such a waste.
Mio, is that why you're here? For recognition?
I was just looking for a training partner.
I love this
So
scene.
please, live life in my state.
For now, just run. Run with all the breath you have.
We can take care of ourselves.
Stop crying, lads. It won't change anything.
Euron!
Thumbnail screenshot. The music's so good. I love this track.
This is one of my favourite scenes in the entire game, and so I could not resist showing it again here. Noah and Mio have merged into an epic purple being, which has no better introduction than from...
And actually, that whole thing I said about music and like timing it with the cutscene and then having it separate is actually still not true here. This is just the cutscene music, but turned down a bit. Yeah. You probably didn't notice the boss music because it does that normally. Exactly. Well, that's kind of the point, is the video kind of, you know, you get a bit immersed into it. Goated scene, it really is. I love it. I mean, even if there's a lot of like awkward shouting about events you don't, I just love it. You know, I remember seeing comments online from people who managed to go into this game completely blind and they had no idea that Ouroboros existed and they were like blown away by it. And I wish I was one of them. I would have loved to notice this, but it's fine. It was still really awesome.
Mr. Mobius.
I call it Mobius there.
You sure catch on quick. So you've got yourselves an interlink going, huh? Guess I've got to give the old fool credit where it's due.
Interlink?
Well, whatever. That form you just merged into, it's called Ouroboros. See that into your skulls. Ouroboros? Oh, and
Ignore the subtitles, they're all
me,
wrong.
I'm Mobius. We look a bit alike, don't we? When Kevus and Agnes come together in unity, you're practically one step away from being on the same level as us. So we're...
One being.
To put it bluntly, you're failure.
So I guess this is the first instance of what we may see more in the second video of, should I have included all of this cutscene? Like, as good as it is, and as much as I love it, is it what the video is for? Is there too much cutscenes in the video compared to actual Nuzlocke stuff? There's a lot of exposition coming from a minor character. That is true. Such a minor character he is. I don't think this was bad, and I think the reason I include this is because I then, in like 10 seconds, I'm going to cut to the... It cuts straight into the boss music, and I wanted to make a deal out of the Mobius music. So I think that's the reason I kept it in. It was more for editing flow rather than to actually show the cutscene. And that is true of many other scenes. But now that I'm here, I can also see people saying that this was maybe too long, and maybe you didn't need to include all of this. But it's all right. And if it only happens here and there, it's fine. I think what the second video may have done more of, or at the very least what it used to do, if not now, is it did too much of it throughout the video. It's okay sometimes, but and that's why it works here. And it's awesome. I mean, this is the Ouroboros scene. Come on.
Fact is, the two of us are mortal enemies.
Crazy thing to say.
Enemies? You got the picture? No further questions? Then let's get back on the dance floor.
This next bit isn't shown on screen, but I'm sure we can all agree that suddenly, Mobius reveals that he brought a bunch of backing singers with him to provide the only thing that could ever surpass the Ouroboros form. Ace.
So I was handily shown here that I mistakenly put Kenji Hiramatsu on the screen, on the left. He's an amazing composer and works on this series. He's actually not part of Ace. He's part of Ace Plus. The two on the right are Ace. So Kenji here was a mistake. But hey, no problems with putting Kenji Hiramatsu on the screen. Or that piano. This is actually one of the few times I've talked about music so far. And I do want to talk more about the music, particularly in Xenoblade 3. Because there are a lot of motifs that I think make the soundtrack amazing. So I've got to be careful how to include that. Because I want to, but it's more non-Nuzlocke content. And so I'm really having to balance a lot of my desires of what I want to include with what other people are expecting. Or I don't know. Also, the run is still in its early phases, and so we're still developing the style of content. And if people came to the first video expecting something different, that's okay. We're still building the style. Let's listen to the Mobius track for a while. Honestly, if there is one thing that's awkward here, it's that I don't... It's that once the beat drop comes, I actually start talking, and I don't know if that means I don't really show off the track properly. Because as soon as we get here, I start talking.
In this fight, we now have access to Noah and Mio's Ouroboros form, which gives us some very powerful attacks, and, in this particular fight, immune to Mobius' damage. The only problem with this fight was his AoE damage, which nearly killed Uni a couple of times. But beyond that, it was an easy win on our first try.
Kind of anticlimactic, to be honest.
Mr. Mobius then concedes defeat before shining a big infinity symbol in the sky.
The bat
We
sign.
see lots of other mysterious people, and then he disappears. In the aftermath, both parties are still wary of each other, and a little unsure what to do. Then Guernica, who is somehow still alive, this man is a beast, tells them not to fight. He says that the group of 6 is now Ouroboros, and shows us that we no longer have flame clocks in our irises. We also learn that Mio is toward the end of her 10th term, and that Guernica is in fact 60 years old. He tells the group to head to a place called Swordmarch, where we will find a city. And then he slowly fades away, finally resting his soul.
That fight you probably cannot die in. No, I think that's true. I think Noah and Mio are immune in that fight because the overheat, the heat gauge never fills up. This is honestly a scene that I think did work well, this talking. Even though in the second video, again, in my style I was pursuing there, I probably would have tried to include more actual lines from the characters, and I think I've gone too far in the other direction. I felt like initially with this video I didn't go enough into the story, and I kind of skipped over too many things, and that's why I included more in the second video. And I wonder if actually I swung too far, if in the wrong direction at all, because as I rewatch this now, I think the balance was really good in what I tried to explain. And even here, I'll go back a few seconds. I give a little pause after saying resting his soul to just let the music play. I give it a few seconds.
City. And then he slowly fades away, finally resting his soul.
And just give some music, some breathing space.
The double off scene from Noah and Mio shows a more gentle way in which Kevis and Agnes can work together. It gives a good bit of character to the Offseers, as Noah and Mio have more pushback on heading back to their colonies. Despite this, both groups then head home as normal, as if absolutely nothing happened.
Oh, that's also an example of not just like... Again, I've given you a couple of seconds to actually look at the characters rather than just cut to the next scene. But that was also for editing reasons. Because if I had cut straight to the next scene after I said
absolutely
this,
nothing happened.
if I cut it like here, it would have like been only briefly on Mio, and it would have been like 2 hard cuts in a row. It's kind of hard to explain that, to be honest. But yeah, there was actually like editing purpose to leaving this here. Also lets the music fade out, I guess.
On our way back to Colony 9, we get the opportunity to play as Uni, which allows us to see just how good or bad Uni's AI really is. And it was at this point that I realised that Vortex doesn't do much healing because it can only do up to this maximum amount as the number shown next to healing power. I have never noticed this before, and I am stupid.
I am.
So with this in mind, I decided to swap off Vortex for Power Ring, which gives an attack up field. This difference
Hooray!
probably have made the previous boss fights a lot easier,
That
and I
it would.
apologise for all of you who have been screaming at me this entire time.
Well, at least I noticed this mistake in the video, and at least I got it. If there is, like, one other thing that I think I've done well, look, again, praising myself, but I think one other thing I've done well is the ability to be able to swap between the comedy funny and the emotional actually talking about the characters in the right balance. Like, I can phase in and out of one and the other, and it doesn't feel like it's ruining either. I think having that balance working together has been has been a strength of mine so far when I actually get to script it. I'm not so good at doing it off the cuff because sometimes my jokes come across too like passive aggressive. But when I get the chance to script it and actually get to do a couple of takes of the recording, we were all screaming at you, but not for that reason. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is sighing in disbelief. Oh, there's going to be a lot of that. Especially because I have to talk and do this stuff at the same time. These are all reasons why I was initially quite drawn to the idea of doing a scripted video. And I've discovered that it kind of fits my personality, I think. Albeit now that I'm streaming, I'm realizing I can do some talking as well. But I've often felt like I'm better at kind of planned talking and scripted talking than just off the cuff. I think it doesn't always come out well. And you've seen that sometimes where I'm like, oh, I don't know what to say, and oh, just ignore that rambling. But when I get to do scripted, it means I can really bring out all the strengths. And so I've been commenting on the flow of the video. I think this first half of the video had such good flow the whole way. I feel like there's been a little bit more, not dead space, but just like, it's been a little bit lower energy at points during here. So I think the flow maybe has dropped a little bit, but it's still solid. It's still there.
We also found 2 more husks on our way home, as well as reaching level 12. When we reach the entrance to Alpheto Valley, we spy some friendly colony soldiers, who turn out to actually be some not so friendly colony soldiers. For whatever reason, our own colony begins to attack us. We have a forced battle which has no problems whatsoever, but we have no choice but to turn back to Alpheto Valley.
You got chat to yell at you in real time? Yeah, I think that's true. I'm really appreciating the support so far and the people who are here. And I'm liking the relationships we're building. I think people are learning the balance. You're learning to remind me of things, and you're building your own jokes, right? The controller drop counter. I would never have envisioned that being a joke, and I'm so happy you guys helped me make the content. That's the great thing about it. So thank you.
We then transition to Mio,
10 minutes
Senna, and
left.
Tyon, who are also having to run away from their own colony's soldiers.
Let's see if
We
we can make
actually
it
get
under
to
3
take
hours.
control of Mio to experience how to fight as a defender. We can also use all of the accessories we previously gained, even though we definitely shouldn't be able to. There were enough.
Continuing the theme of just little experiments I was trying in chapter 1 to be like, did they let you do this? Did they let you do this? Yeah, little details like that. That wasn't really a comment I needed to bring up, but there it is.
Number of enemies I could have fought, but since we're near a turning point for the run, I decided to just press on. The 2 enemy parties meet once again, and ultimately, thanks to Noah's leadership, decide it would be best to work together with a common goal of reaching the city that Guernica mentioned. Tyon and Lance are more against the idea, but you have to remember that this is all they know. I think there is a real message in this game about trying to think outside your own perception of the world.
True!
Summarized perfectly in this interaction.
They're the enemy.
They were the enemy.
One of the most cold interactions in the whole game. I love it so much. If there's one other thing, that's kind of the next line, actually.
Everyone gets a nice introduction to each.
Yeah, if there's one thing that I don't know whether I did right long term, it's the fact that I didn't really introduce... No, okay, we'll come to this next time when we look at the deleted scene, but this was a scene where I really should have gone into a bit of character detail, and I kind of just glossed over it, and that kind of doesn't fit with the character... with the style that's looking into the development of the story. At the same time, we've done a whole lot of that so far. Like, I mean, I think this is where one of the problems lies for the series, is in these kind of heavy story scenes where we do the Ouroboros, then we've got the Mobius talking, the Offseers playing the melody, we come back here. There's a lot of talking about cutscenes without really any gameplay in between. I mean, we talked a bit about Uni, I guess. And that's where you don't really have that balance between gameplay and story and character. It feels like you're doing a lot of one or a lot of the other. It's not kind of flowing in and out, which I think was the great thing about this first half of the video, is they kind of kept pace with each other. But the last kind of 7 minutes have been almost entirely story-based, which I don't entirely mind, but... well, my point is, if I was to explain all about the characters, it gets longer too. Actually, there's still more here. So that's where the video can kind of spiral out of control, and yeah, the balance maybe goes off in the wrong direction. I don't know. But at the same time, I want my content to be what I want it to be in the right balance. You know, I'm not aiming for a particular balance that people are looking for to an extent, as long as there's enough people watching. I still want it to maintain my own thing. So, yeah. I think this video probably leaned a little bit more into the Nuzlocke side than the story side. Whereas I think the second video kind of tried to do too much in both directions. We'll talk about that another day. The only other thing to mention, by the way, is I did not think this video was going to be an hour. I knew that I wanted to end this video at the point where I did. I guess I can talk about that later, but I thought it was going to be like 20-30 minutes. And that is an example of how I can ramble about a lot more details than I expect.
And we find some shiny new clothes.
New clothes.
We've now finished the first chapter of the game, but be warned, this is not representative of how long the rest of the playthrough will.
We're going to get the full 30 minutes worth of chapter 5 or 6 then? Listen, okay? I've been waiting for someone to ask this question. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what we're going to do when we get to chapter 5. In all honesty, one idea that I had was to just have an episode called The Cutscene Episode, and it's just like the end of chapter 5, start of chapter 6. It's that whole sequence, but it's kind of just the cutscenes without me talking much. Because then I get to include it in the series without making people feel like I wasted their time. And if you only care about the actual Nuzlocke gameplay, you can just skip that video, and I'll just make that a PSA about it. Like, there's no gameplay in this video. It's just cutscenes, but I get to include it. That's kind of one idea I've had. But we'll see how the balance develops. I hope that by the time we reach there, I'll be better at selecting and choosing what's right to include and actually making it feel like it's got a better flow. It's not always that it's bad to include it, but you have to execute it well. Yeah. No such thing as too much. You will sit here for 3 hours. Thank you so much. I mean, I appreciate it. But I do need to keep a balance, obviously. I'm sure you will understand. Like, I don't need a lot of people to watch this series, but I want there to be enough that it feels like it's working. I was really nervous about the streams, because I'm so thankful that all of you have turned up for these streams, because if there hadn't been people at those streams, I don't know how it would have gone. I think this kind of Nuzlocke run and how interactive I wanted it to be and how much help I actually need with the menuing and the arts means that I actually need like solid chat engagement for the Nuzlocke. Whereas other things like where I was playing Blueprints the other day is a game where I can just narrate that myself. But the Nuzlocke actually really needed that sort of engagement. So yeah, it's hard to get that balance, and I'm so thankful that you've all stuck around. How about adding a timestamp on the more story-heavy sections? I probably can do that. You're right. And we'll come to the second video another day. I think I showed too much of the Weight of Life cutscene there, but yeah. I did do that on some of the gameplay parts of the second video. I guess I could do that. Thanks. Yeah, I'll think about that and see where it goes. But ultimately, I want to still get the flow right. And there were parts of it that worked well, parts of it that didn't. That's the second video. We're still on the first video. We've still got 10 minutes left.
At the start of the next chapter, we get a flashback to the incident where the Kavesi crew's friend Yoren was killed. A girl named
First mention of
Silvercoat
Yoren.
Ethel saves the gang and is known as a famed hero in Keves, despite only being in her third term.
Now this is something I probably have learned since. Because we don't learn much more about Ethel in this video, maybe in like a perfect world. This is another way we can save time on the cutscenes, by the way. I did this with the Tyon flashback in the second video. I probably could have skipped over this kind of Ethel flashback, but brought it up later amongst other talking about Ethel. And then you can kind of still cover it, but kind of squeeze it into a better flow and save time. And that's what my plan is to do with the Tyon flashback in the second video. And I'll come to that there. I can't lie, chat, my voice is hurting. I've run out of water for a long time, as I'm just going to continue. Thank you to all of this. Thank you for all of you here.
Now back to the present, and we are at the HQ of our new
The current test is almost at the point of availability. Which test was that? I forgot that.
enemies.
I forgot where we got
They
to.
all refer to each other by different letters, the one we previously fought being D, Others including O, P, J, H, and then a really spooky
H?
one called Z. Eventually, K is asked to go and vanishes without a trace.
That was a bit loud, sorry.
Back to the main party, and we find Lance and Senna attempting to fuse into the Ouroboros form, sensing some sort of connection between them, presumably because they realise that they share the same singular brain cell. Tensions are still high, but
I forgot about that one. Oh, that's another... I forgot about that one. That was good. Oh, going to Colony 9. Oh, yeah. Get water if you need. No, we're close enough. I would have to spend like a couple of minutes going to... It doesn't matter. We're close enough. But I'll make sure to have more next time. I got to plan this stream better. It's going to be... We're going to come in at under 3 hours, I think. But, yeah.
between the two
Let's
groups,
continue.
but we press on. We now have the ability to change character, both in the world and in battle.
That's an example of where I didn't really need a dissolve transition. I could have gone with just a cut there, I think.
It would be very useful if we need to manually control important characters, like our healers or those in danger. We can also...
Oh, yeah, and the subtle interlink cancel between D and J. I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring it up, but yeah, you can subtly see it there. Good spot.
change the setup of the Agnian trio who join us to form a full party of 6. To be honest though, I was getting a bit lazy because I knew that the point I wanted to reach was just around the corner.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot I want to comment on in the next section, so I'll just summarise by saying, we enter Millick Meadows, set out for this old Feronis, get some practice in battling with...
Again, there's some lines I skipped there. There's a scene I skipped there, and I don't know if I should have done that. There's some good lines in there. Tyon's got his line about everything's all a matter of perspective. We should be questioning all that we thought to be true. Like that's big, that's important, and I think I should have covered that. But at the same time, the flow keeps going. You know, that would have been even more cutscene to add. So, and as all of you have said, right, the video felt good. It doesn't. If I'd asked you, do you feel like I rushed things in this video? I think you would say no. So it's more me just being very self-conscious about what I have and haven't included, and ultimately it doesn't matter in the big picture. I'll still talk about the story, and that's where I need to learn to just accept I don't need to go over all the story that I need to, right? You won't notice what I don't include, if that makes sense. Oh, I skipped. Oh no, I went
We
back.
enter
It's
Millick
okay.
Meadows,
Oh,
set out
it's
for this
fine.
old
It's
Feronis,
fine.
get some
Don't
practice in
panic,
battling
chat.
with 6 party members, and of course, run away from the big monkey.
He says,
We then find another...
look, I had to include the big monkey somewhere, but I say run away
for
from
this
the...
old Feronis,
Okay, keep
get some
going.
practice in battling with 6 party members, and of course,
Run away from the big monkey. He says nowhere near it and running towards it. I'm running towards the big monkey. So this was me inserting the joke for the sake of it and not really executing it well. I did it in the second video though.
run
as
away
well.
from the big monkey.
You have to include the
We
big
then
monkey.
find another group of husks, and I realised that up until now, all of the husks we found have been Kevesi, whereas these husks are Agnian. The functionality of the feature is the same, but I thought it would be interesting if we split our husk counter separately into Agnian and Kevesi.
Yeah, I like
I
this.
definitely won't find all of them in this playthrough, but it will be interesting to see if there is an overall difference.
There probably won't be. But again, it's interesting.
We then
encounter.
encounter a skirmish between 2 groups of enemies,
Oh, no.
Crustips and the Bronx. Aiding the Bronx will give us a Nopon coin, which is very good for later in the game. I have a personal history with Nopon coins, which I will share when the time is right, but
Oh yeah, and I've been starting to share this in the streams, right? Which is that, for whatever reason, I just didn't really use Nopon coins in my first playthrough. So in a skirmish like this, let me just go back a bit. In a skirmish like this, on my first playthrough, I would have gone for the XP and the gold. More so the XP. Yeah, that's wrong. And I only learned a lot later why Nopon coins were so useful. And so, in my first playthrough, I just didn't do this. Yeah. Uni's healing is worse than I remembered at the start of the game. Pro tip, do you have her power ring on? Because if you don't, you actually can't charge up her talent art. Just in case you didn't know that. That's a pro tip I know. Just in case. I can't remember who told me that. Yeah, I don't know. But just in case you didn't know that. And make sure you've got the right arts equipped that do the most healing. Yeah. You know, I know how to play this game, of course.
but that time is not now. With the power of the Bronx on our side, we were sure to be no match for...
Look how much damage we were taking. Holy moly.
I have a personal history with Nopon coins, which I will share when the time is right, but that time
Wait, I've never actually really analysed this fight.
is not now.
Who was, like, had the aggro? Lance has got the aggro on one? What actually went wrong in this
With
fight?
the power of the Brogs on our side,
They just do a... Oh, yeah, they've got this AoE water attack, which sucks.
we were sure to be no match for...
And I guess Tyon must have just had the aggro there.
You muppet!
There's You Muppet. You Muppet is also a recurring joke you've probably seen by now. Actually, I think I had to cut... What did hit Tyon? I don't think we can see. He's over to the right somewhere.
We were sure to be no match for...
I can only guess that he had the aggro of one of the enemies and I wasn't really paying attention. As I said a few minutes ago in the video, I was kind of being lazy here because at this point I just wanted to hit the class unlock scene. I just wanted to get there. Because I knew that was where the video was going to end. We don't know what hit... We will never know what hit him. I guess we'll never know.
You muppet!
It was probably Uni slapping
When we
him.
reach the Pharaonis Hulk, we have to defeat the surrounding enemies. I was enjoying playing as Mio as I didn't have to care about gaining aggro, and also because she was now one of only 2 characters who has technically not failed to run, and so I wanted to try and keep her alive. The attempt went like this.
I should have done more.
Working on it.
Even in the moment, I could tell my brain was a bit switched off, and I basically just hoped all of the loving viewers would understand. I switched...
Oh, that's the second time I've done that, isn't it? Well, the first... I said that in the second video. All of the loving viewers would understand. And then I put You Muppet on the screen towards the start of the video. Oh, I didn't notice I repeated that line. Maybe that's a running joke as well of the channel. Just to be clear, when I say running joke, there's running jokes of the series, and there's also like running jokes of my mannerisms and personality. I think loving viewers would understand is probably a running joke as well. A running personality gag. Maybe it was, Herbert, you're right.
Switched over to the one and only girl with the ghoul, as she is now the only legal
Girl with the ghoul. Yeah, that was my British accent coming out. Girl with the ghoul. I'm the girl with the ghoul. I can't do the accent, man.
party member in our group.
Only legal party member in our group. I brought that joke back as well, calling things legal and illegal.
I tried learning to make use of the little dash move that I don't know the name of because I never used it in my first place.
What sort of awful gameplay was that? I dashed into the same place and then just walked. What on earth? And that's why I'm not using the dash move. Thank you.
But
I will take no further questions on this matter.
I don't know whether I could ultimately override my playstyle. Once the area is clear, we need some energy to power up the Pharaonis. Unfortunately, we can't use the reserve energy already in the Pharaonis because, in the words of a wise Nopon, the power level is at precisely 0. One introduction to ether channels later, and we...
That's also a good way to introduce a gameplay feature. One introduction to ether channels later. And I probably should have done that with, like... We'll come to the second video again, but there's bits like that where I could have like had a whole paragraph explaining, oh, these are ether channels. We can get the ether channels to get ether. And even if I made it funny, it's just not worth including. Just skip over it and move on. And I think there's examples of that in the second video, like Menana's cooking and the gems. I could have probably just said, oh, we can do gems now. And it comes back to something I said way earlier about how there are jokes in those paragraphs. And I have to decide, by cutting the explanation, you have to, by virtue of that, also cut the joke. And I was like a bit stubborn to cut jokes because I thought they were funny. Anyway, that's still the second video. It is important to talk about the second video, though, because that's why I'm looking at the first video too, is to kind of compare the different things I did. So yeah, power levels at precisely 0 for Honest Hulk, ether channels.
This gets us 2 more containers, as well as a fabricator. The fabricator is a machine that I have several...
the fabricator. I forgot about this. Okay. This is actually a perfect example of... But then you wouldn't have the dispersed bloodlust bit. Well, exactly. That's the point, right? That's why I decided to keep in all that gem explanation, albeit I did shorten it from what it originally was. There's so much more in the second video where I can say, oh, I cut this bit, or I changed that bit, or I cut this bit, that I can't really talk about in this video. But yeah, you're absolutely right. If I cut the explanation, I have to cut the joke about it as well. And so the question is, what's better? Is it better to have that whole minute, even if it includes the joke, or is it boring enough that a bunch of people would click off the video? And I'm glad you guys think it's funny, but you guys watch the whole video, right? Whereas a lot of other people that might not have done, and they probably click off midway through. Albeit, I think the graph actually suggests that's truer of this video than the other one. Anyway, the Fabricator. The Fabricator is a perfect example of this whole thing. This is actually quite a good example of where I tried to be funny, but I don't think it came across right, and it was just rambly. We'll see what I say.
Questions about. Mainly that it requires a payment of gold to use. Since this is a man-made machine and not a living creature, this is a bit strange, as we don't really need to pay machines to do work. This implies a number of possibilities. Number 1, the machine is actually living and a functioning member of society, in which case my sincere apologies. Number 2, which is really 1.5, there is a living being inside the machine, such as a Nopon, which works 24/7 for minimal wages. But if this is the case, where does this Nopon get the items from? Option 3, which again really doesn't have to be excluded from the first two, is that the machine is able to transform gold into the items it returns. This is really weird though, because gold is then a bit of a useless currency and also raises many questions about the fabric of the world and probably creates an existential economics and physics question, which I am not going to answer. A final, more radical option.
Yeah, so the summary of my joke is, how does the Fabricator work? It needs gold, but then it spits out items, so how does the chemistry work? Maybe there's a person inside it, maybe there's a Nopon inside it, but if the whole world is made of gold, and then we can take the gold into items, is the whole world just like, I don't know. It might have worked maybe if I had some graphics on the screen. Again, it's not unfunny. I just don't think it's that funny, and whether it's worth the time for people. This is probably a very good example of that. But it does... The final option is L joke. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks, man. I'm glad you're here, being so supportive of me. But again, the final option is good, right? The final bit I say... I'm losing my words. The final more radical option is that it's just a gameplay feature with no intended consequences. That's funny, but in order to have that exist, you have to cut kind of the rest of the explanation.
Is that it is just a gameplay feature and has no real logic intended behind it. Regardless, this machine is a very welcome feature, allowing you to skip the grindy running around sections of many quests in favour of just paying money and literally spitting out items.
I mean, I say that, but I don't actually think I used it at all. I forget it exists. I forgot this whole thing existed anyway.
Now that I think about it, this is really a capitalist vision. Having a better alternative for yourself to use, whilst only costing you money, which you have lots of. Did someone say capitalism? This kind group of Nopon heard the name of their favourite economic system and...
Yeah, so if there's one kind of big flaw I think this video does have, it's this end section. I think the flow kind of starts to fall apart here. I mean, that bit about the Fabricator, followed by this kind of Nopon explanation that says these Nopon came to set up the shops. No, Chris, don't worry. It's okay. I'm coming off ruder than intended as well. I know you're supporting me. I know you're here. It's okay. L joke is funny. It's absolutely fine. And you know I care as well. Anyway, it's not as bad a joke as capitalism. Oh, ha ha ha. No, I'm joking, guys. Or am I? I don't know. The flow of the video. That was loud. Yeah, I feel like the flow of the video kind of falls apart a bit in these last few minutes, and I feel like I was maybe just kind of doing whatever. I don't know. I don't really remember. I don't think I intended it to be... It almost feels just like a bit lazier. I don't know. I didn't need to have that explanation about the Fabricator. I didn't really need to explain the Nopon
I've come to make a deal.
But it is what it is.
Shilshil opens up the first Nopon caravan in the game, allowing us to buy some accessories that I forgot to even look at.
Although that's funny.
And to cap it all off, we get a quick scene with a now grown-up Silvercoat Ethel, who is commander of the Dirt Rank Colony 4.
And again, oh no, hang on, I forgot about this. Okay, ADHD brain is going too fast. The capitalism joke from last stream was really funny. Yeah, and the difference with streams is you're able to just ramble and have longer jokes because I think everyone expects that from a stream. You know, on a stream, you don't really have to care about like this fast-paced comedy and viewer engagement. You can just have a lot of, even like a bit of dead space, honestly. So it works. And that's one of the things I really hope to achieve with streams, actually, for myself. Is I think if I get to kind of joke about some of these things and just kind of talk about them and talk about the story and the characters and the music, like I was saying earlier, then I don't have to include it in the video because I will satisfy my own personal desire to talk about it, right? One of the original purposes of this series is so that I get to talk about Xenoblade because I don't really get to do it anywhere else or with anyone else. And I just love parts of it. And obviously there's other games that's true of too. And so if I get to do that on streams, maybe I'll be much more inclined to say, I don't need to do that in the video. I don't need to do that in the video because I've satisfied my own personal desire. And if people really, really want me to actually talk about those things, then they can come and watch the streams, right? Hello, number one Rex fan. You're joining us towards the end of this stream, but hello. I can't remember where I was just on. I'm kind of rambling about streams and videos. Yeah, I think streaming, the biggest purpose of streaming the Nuzlocke has actually become healthy for me, right? As much as it is about, hey, I need chat to come and help, actually it allows me to talk about things that I then don't have to include in the videos. It's going to make the balance better. I don't know if that all made sense, but I think you understood enough. The next point was about Ethel. I don't need to include this Ethel bit, as I said earlier. Let's just keep
allowing
going.
us to buy some accessories that I forgot to even look at. And to cap it all off, we get a quick...
Yeah, as I said with the earlier flashback, maybe it's fine for this time, but in a perfect world, maybe save this bit about Ethel for later. So instead of just dripping like random bits about Ethel here and there, you can actually flow it better as a video. Even if that's a different order to what the game actually shows you, the video might have a different purpose. Yeah, it's fine.
Quick scene with a now grown-up Silvercoat Ethel, who is commander of the Dirt Rank Colony 4. Still with me? Good, because we've finally reached one of the most crucial points of the run.
And if you remember, I said earlier that the mic was clipping a lot more in the second half of the video. I just made it too loud. You'll hear that a lot more now. But at least the still with me good does imply that I was kind of going into that kind of fast-paced, there's a lot of random information here. And it just draws people back. It's just one of those jokes off the back of a big rambly segment designed to keep people going, I think. I think that's why I did it anyway. We reach one of the most crucial points of the run, and we have 5 minutes to go. Can we make it under 3 hours? We probably won't.
In this next scene, Noah and friends discover that in becoming Ouroboros, they have been granted a mysterious new power that allows them to wield the weapons and classes of each other. We're forced to swap everyone to another class, but this is fine, because, for the first time in nearly 6 hours of gameplay, the run is officially legal! And I just included a stock image, man. I thought that was funny. And the children cheering. Yeah. Of course, bear in mind, I had no idea that the Pokeballs rule existed when I was making this video. So to me, the run had been over, technically, for so long. But now it's actually legal again for a bit. Everyone is using a class that they have not yet been incapacitated with. That said, we are currently locked in... You know what? Here's another question that I am like... very self-conscious of. When we talk about characters losing classes, right, we talk about things dying, right? Or sometimes I say being incapacitated, or sometimes I say reaching 0 HP. And that's because I feel very, like, over-conscious of using the word dying. I don't want to say Noah died, or Mio died. I don't know. It probably means nothing to many people, but I don't know. That's why you might see me, like, say something like, oh, he's reached 0 HP, even though it's a bit, like, oddly specifically formal. It's because I got too self-conscious about using the word die. And incapacitated is too long. I don't know, there isn't a right solution, it doesn't matter. But I'm just giving you insight into what I've been thinking of throughout this development, and still do. Into these classes, and there is a teensy bit more to go before we are given full freedom. On the way, we had a good character building moment, where Tyon showed us how his origami mondo are really a representation of himself. Specifically, that he is as tough as a piece of paper. Tyon has successfully become the first character to lose 2 classes, and we have once again technically failed the run. So the run's illegal again, by the way, just from this point. And this is the point. So if you count the Pokeballs thing, then this is actually our first genuine class loss. Downed, knocked out, yeah. Don't worry, hearing Mio died brings me flashbacks, true. I mean, I'm sure there are words
The thing you guys have to remember is that I have to remember these words, and my brain has to speak in normal English for it to work. And my brain doesn't always do that. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I might like hesitate over a word. I don't know. This is the sort of random commentary you signed up for, and there's no conclusion. Tyon died, loses medic gunner.
But at this stage, we have fully accepted that we are waiting
Yeah, I kind of just pressed on and went, whatever.
for a miracle.
Well, I didn't have another
Please
class to
join me
switch to.
in one final march towards the gang known as the Milik Pests.
And the more
These
arcane
three
music...
Bodum Gribbles are a forced battle designed to make us test out our new classes. And I can joyfully say that there were no problems and no one fell in this battle. And after the battle, we are given access to full freedom between all of the currently available classes. We've done it! We've reached the point of the game where the run finally begins, where I run out of excuses to try and continue the run. From this point onwards, the run is real. No more catches, no more continues. If we lose...
So much clipping there. But I don't actually think I... Is this true? When I say, okay, there's no more catches, there's no more continues. Haven't I already done that once or twice? Exactly. I don't know.
We lose. I stated at the start of the video that once we reached this point, I would fully explain all of the rules and clarifications necessary.
I did.
So my friends, it is finally time to wait for the next video. I know, cliffhanger, but I always knew that this was where I wanted to end the first part of this series and that the
Okay. And so now we go into the kind of... I'd argue the ability to swap classes is the Pokeball point. Exactly. Oh no, hang on a minute. You're saying that Tyon would still have Medic Gunner. No, I'm going to leave that. We're far enough in. But yeah, this is where the Pokeball thing comes in. So now we're into the last couple of minutes of the video, which are kind of the post-video ramble. I don't know if this will become like a staple of these videos, or whether it just happened to be the case for a couple of this. I don't know. I also don't know why I put the pause sign in red.
Finally time to wait for the next...
I don't know why I put the pause sign in red. I think it was to try and be in line with the red arrows I was using, but again, it doesn't really have an outline. I don't know. Hopefully enough of you understood it was a pause.
video. I know, cliffhanger, but I always knew that this was where I wanted to end the first part of this series and that the second video is where it will really begin.
Yeah, that is true. That is completely true. But as I said, I did not expect the first video to be this long. I expected... This was exactly the amount of game I always intended to cover in the first video, and I always intended for this to be a multi-part, long-term series. But I thought that this would be like 20, maybe 30 minutes. And honestly, the second video, I expected to be shorter than this one, kind of. Though I didn't really have a plan as to where that one was going to end. So yeah, it got a bit out of hand, but it is what it is.
So if you want to try this challenge yourself with my full rule set, you'll unfortunately need to wait for the next video.
Albeit, we still haven't agreed on all the rules, so this doesn't really work. And I'm pretty sure there are a couple of people who have tried it since then. I think I've seen a couple of people say they have. And hey, if you want to do it yourself, it doesn't matter. You can use whatever rule set you like. I have to make it easy enough so that the content still goes. Time to wait 3 years for the next video. Oh, there is no way I knew that. If you told me you won't release the next video until 2026... I wouldn't have believed you. I thought the second video was going to come out like by the end of the year. And then, I mean, this is kind of partially my poor planning for this and kind of poor expectation. I was pretty much always in a place where I thought this video isn't done, but it will be done within the next couple of months. The second video this is. I kind of thought that continuously. And only recently did I realize that wouldn't be the case. Not like that. Yeah, I don't know. That kind of attitude never faded away. And that's one of the reasons why I'm being so cautious as to when I can promise the next video will be. I don't know. And I'm currently scripting a different video, which is taking me longer than I expect. Partially because all this stream kind of overlays and learning the streaming is taking me longer than I expect. I don't think I'm a poor planner, but something I've realized in the last few months is that I always underestimate how long things will take me. And even though I'm trying to then dial back my expectations to account for that, it doesn't seem to be working yet. Thanks, Rex fan, for being here. Yeah, we're almost to the end, and then I need to make some decisions about the next stream, because if this video took 3 hours, I can't imagine what the other things are going to take. Will you Nuzlocke Future Redeemed? The general answer is no, but I need to make some decisions about the future of the series beyond this game. I once thought I would do like this kind of style for all 3 games, but for 2 main reasons, I don't know if that's going to work. The first one is the idea isn't the same in the other games, and this series was quite... You know, other people have done challenge runs of Xenoblade 1 and 2, but no one had really done one of 3. And yeah, you can't really Nuzlocke the DLC, but I think you're at least asking, will I play it? And the answer is, I don't know yet, because I originally wanted to do the whole trilogy, like as a video series, and then do Future Redeemed as the end. Yeah, it's pretty much no one can die, which means that Rex will lose immediately. The second reason, though, is because by the time we actually finish this series, which I don't know how long it will take, I don't know whether I'll keep doing the other games or whether I'll like be moving on to other projects. I don't know. I don't actually think I can answer that question, or whether I'll do Xenoblade 1, or whether I'll do a Nuzlocke of Xenoblade 2. I don't think I can answer that question until quite late on into this series. And that could be in a few months, it could be in a year, it could be in 2 years, I don't know. So I'm just kind of, although I have plans, I'm also just taking it as I go, kind of one step at a time. Oh yeah, I'm not Nuzlocking 1 for the record. I actually have a different idea for a series on Xenoblade 1. I don't know whether I'll do it, but I had a different idea instead of a Nuzlocke. Okay, let's finish the stream, because I need to get some water.
That said, there are still a few things I would like to comment on in regards to the run. You may have noticed that we have struggled a bit this episode. If it wasn't obvious enough that I literally tried to personify a nameless enemy.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I am considering whether it may be best to turn the difficulty back down from hard to normal mode.
Oh yes, please.
I know this removes some of the challenge, but I think this is okay. The idea of this Nuzlocke was never to be some super crazy difficult thing that no one could ever beat. It was to change the way we play the game to give us a new experience. That, and allowing me to post a hopefully entertaining video series containing some of my thoughts and comments on the game itself as we make our way through the story.
Yeah, that was kind of my summary of what I wanted this series to be. Though, I didn't necessarily expect... So something that did change, to be clear, over the duration of this first video, and particularly as I started the second video, what changed was I grew in the amount that I wanted to comment on the story and the characters and like the actual world. That kind of grew. That wasn't there at first, immediately. I think that's probably why the second video had some problems, at least in its development, is I tried to squeeze in something that there wasn't space for. We'll get there. But yeah, this is a good summary.
I want to make a rule set that gives us a unique challenge, whilst also allowing us to make it through most, if not all, of the main story.
Definitely all.
This is made for entertainment purposes, and not for my own pain and suffering, though they may be one and the same.
Good joke.
And there will still be an interesting problem-solving challenge in this run. I'm actually quite sure that I want to lower the difficulty, but I wanted to see other people's thoughts before I committed to it. And now, if you'll just let me comment on the video itself.
And then the Xenoblade 2 music, because that was a bit more emotional for me at the time. So, yeah, that's kind of my shift to personal comments about the actual video. Let me see what I say here, and if this still holds up, or if this is actually
Although
true.
I've posted some other videos already, this is the first video I'm really proud of and I'm excited to share with the world.
That was true. Yeah, that was true.
I appreciate there are imperfections and some polish that is missing from parts of the video, but I hope I still gave you a decent time. This video took a really long time to make.
About 6 months.
I don't just mean the obvious, that editing and recording takes work. I'm actually more referring to the frequency that I worked on this.
You low-key may or may not have gone too far in the story. What did you do? Oh, did you go past the Mobius scene? Ah. How do you re-unlock Ethel? You need to do one of the other Ascension quests. Kamaravis, basically.
Since I don't really have an audience at the moment, the only thing I was really doing this video for was myself.
Yeah, that's also true. I mean, when I made the second video, this is what I said earlier, like 2 hours ago, about the algorithm moment that the first video had. And I just don't know whether that added some pressure on me for what I then started thinking I had to do in the second video. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just me being much more conscious of like the modern... Because I've actually started thinking about things like viewer engagement and like being more conscious of when I see other creators talk about that. So maybe that's all it was. But what it means is that for the first video, like... Whereas you were all waiting 3 years for the second video, no one was really waiting for this video because no one knew it existed. And I didn't really like talk that much about it to other people. So it was kind of just my own thing. And yeah, so I just worked on it here and there.
And whilst that's all well and good, and we should definitely do things we have passion for, I had no idea whether any of this was actually entertaining, or whether it's a waste of my time, and there were times when I felt very demotivated about it, and just did regular old gaming.
Yeah, this is kind of this was kind of the typical like small content creator thing where you don't need masses of people to watch it. You don't need the biggest channel on the platform, but you obviously want something. You want some people to watch it. And if it was just going to be posted and have nobody watch it, I probably would have felt a bit disappointed. I don't know. I hope that doesn't sound like selfish at all, but I think it's a natural thing for people to feel. And I was happy. The video got like 1,000 views within a week of it being posted, and about 100 people subscribed. This was before it had a big algorithm moment, like in a couple of months, and that alone was good. That gave me some motivation, I think. Although I didn't actually work on the video for about 2 months, but that wasn't really because of motivation. Like, I think I moved on pretty quickly, actually, from the reception to that first video, but I wasn't disappointed with it. But yeah, then it got a big algorithm boost out of nowhere in kind of September, October 2023. And at this point, I was still checking like the YouTube subscribers like every day. I was still happy to see the numbers. And yeah, I suddenly saw the graph going up and I went, wait a minute. And over that whole month, the video blew up to about 20,000. That was crazy. And yeah, that was interesting. Because you also have a bit of nervousness from that. Let's finish. Let's finish the last 2 minutes.
So I would genuinely appreciate if you left a comment on this video, giving your feedback, whatever that may be. I'm happy if there are criticisms you have, but I'd also love if you just talk about what worked, what was good, and what I should keep for the future. Whether that's the editing style, the narration, my gaming skill, lack of comedy, you name it. Additionally, if I know that there are people who enjoy this, then I'll have more drive and motivation to work on the next video.
Yeah, I think that probably wasn't actually that true for the second video. Sort of, if that makes sense. Because the second video became much more of a personal journey, actually. Because it's been so long and I've changed a bit. You know, even though kind of on the outside, like in terms of the style of comedy I've put in, it looks like I'm the same person. I have been on a personal journey over the last few years, I think. So yeah, but I can definitely say that doing the streams has given me the motivation to keep things moving. I'm really enjoying these at the moment. So thanks so much.
This video is being released towards the end of May, but the first game,
And it was actually released in June.
gameplay recording dates way back to December. Now again, please bear in mind that there are a lot of empty patches where I didn't work on the video, but if I feel support behind this project, then we can hopefully eliminate some of those, and the next video can come out a bit faster.
That's sort of happening. But basically what I'm referring to is like a lack of discipline. You know, I think as true as it is, I think the way this came across was unintentionally. It came across more like I was demotivated about the video. And I actually feel like I leaned too much into that. This is not to say that anything I said here was untrue. Just as I've gotten a bit older, I've come to realize it was more like a lack of discipline. Like, you just have to spend more time working on these things. And that's definitely grown on me over the last kind of 6 to 12 months. I think I've done a lot more on the second video in the last 6 to 12 months than I did in the 2 years previous. And I'll kind of come onto that editing schedule when we do that video.
If you've made it this far, thank you.
The next video can come out a bit faster. What sort of comment was that? Oh man, this one took 6 months to make, and hopefully we can make the next one come out a bit faster. And then it took 3 years. And I actually had to rush some bits at the end because I wanted to get it out on the anniversary. I told myself no more than 3 years. At the end, that was, not at the beginning.
So much for watching. It's a really weird feeling to know that there are people out there in the world who will actually sit and watch you talk about video games and general gaming incompetence for nearly an hour. And just to cement myself as an officially certified YouTuber...
That was the word cement, by the way, not submit. Cement myself. I don't know if that's really a term that people use.
I'm going to ask if you would kindly subscribe to the channel. Even just a couple of you would be crazy, as I don't even know any numbers above 10.
He didn't know. No, he really didn't. He really didn't know what was coming. But the only thing to make clear is I don't regret the way things have gone, because if I hadn't like taken all this time, I wouldn't have prepared as many things as I do, and I wouldn't have learned as many things as I have, and the streams kind of just wouldn't be nearly as good. Only a few of you will know that I actually did a couple of streams of the Nuzlocke not long after this video came out, and both of them went pretty poorly from my perspective. I didn't really like them. So I'm not upset that it took this long. I'm happy that it took this long because I'm a better person. I'm better about what I do, and it meant I was actually able to commit to spending some time. Once I realized that the second video was going to take so long, I decided to just stick with that and spend time prepping the overlays and the kind of stream stuff and just experimenting, getting the audio quality better, ensuring the video was better. Didn't you restart the run in those streams? Didn't you restart the run in those streams? I didn't restart it. Well, I continued, basically. Sorry, I don't know if I know what you mean by restart, is all. I watched the Ramble video. Thank you. I'm just aware that not everyone did. I don't know. We have 25 seconds left.
Thank you for watching, and remember to avoid wishing for the endless now.
Okay. 2 things. So first of all, this is the old outro. This is the old channel outro that I used on every video up until the kind of most recent ones. Yeah, which was N's theme along... It's just black. And I thought it was all right. And then the second one is this other comment about...
And remember,
avoid wishing for the endless now.
to avoid wishing for the endless now.
And I didn't know this at the time, but something that I decided to keep was that, like, a little... Again, another little personality mannerism of the channel is that every single video is going to end with the phrase, and remember, blank, you know, and then make that blank something specific to the video. Sometimes it's a bit corny, but sometimes actually it does work. And I don't know, I just want to keep that as a personal thing. So yeah, now you will notice it. Okay. Any tips for class grinding? The only tip is fight regular level enemies. Don't fight lower level enemies. Fight things at your level or you just earn no points. I know this because I was told this after the second video. Okay. We made it. We made it to the end of the video. Oh my gosh. It's been over 3 hours. I can't believe it. And remember, Herbert is the real enemy. Maybe. But I want them to be like extremely stoic and prophetic, but also funny. I don't know. Okay, so we've made it here. The conclusions of this are... I don't know. I don't remember half the things we talked about. But I hope this was interesting. I think it will be more interesting once we do the other videos. Because in this video, the ultimate phrase I used to describe this video is that it was kind of just an indie project. It was just one of those things where you weren't thinking about the kind of corporateness of it. You weren't thinking about the viewer engagement. I just made a video because I wanted to in my own style. And sure, that means there are imperfections. There are criticisms. But it meant I think it felt more genuine, and it just kind of felt, it just put a smile on your face. I don't know. And I think the second video has ups and downs of that. And I think there's going to be a lot more talking in the second director's commentary about, oh, what did I change here? Or I cut this. Or originally this whole segment looked like this, but then I scrapped it and did this instead. There's an awful lot of hidden time in that video. What I have to decide is how to approach the streams now, because I was originally going to do the next stream next week, or the next one of these, as being not just the second video, but actually the other videos that came before it, those kind of smaller ones, the rules video and the deleted scene, and maybe just the update videos too. I don't know, do all of them. But based on how this has gone, that could be a long stream. I thought this length would be that stream. So, I don't know, maybe I have to do a small stream where we go over the intermission videos. I kind of do want to do it all in one. I'm going to need to think. I'll need to think about that. I don't mind it being a longer stream as long as I've maybe planned for it, which I hadn't today. Luckily, I've got time. Okay. So, I'll need to think about that. That is kind of going to be it for today, really. Thank you for being here, and we have officially reached the end of my first stream schedule. I have to make a new stream schedule. The Nuzlocke will be back on Saturday at the same time as usual. I know not everyone can make that time, but it is what it is for now. It's not going to be every week necessarily. We'll talk about that in the near future, but it will still be there for a couple of weeks. 8 hours stream would go crazy. Yeah, I'm not ready for those yet, but I will try one someday. I might do that when Fire Emblem comes out. Yeah, so I'll be back on Saturday with more actual Nuzlocke. I think we're going to do Grey first. We were talking yesterday, Saturday, about whether to do Grey, Xeon, or Teach first. I think we're going to do them in that order. I think we're going to do Grey first, then Xeon, and then if we've got time, we'll do Teach. That will be Saturday's thing. And I think on Monday, next Monday, I'm just going to do another one of these. I know I'm also playing Blueprints a bit. I'm actually just going to do all the director's commentaries at the moment, I think. So, yeah. So next Monday, same time here, for another 5 hours, will be something. I'll post a new stream schedule in the community tab, in the post tab. Keep an eye out for it. And I think that's kind of all my rambling. I'm so thirsty. I don't think I've drunk anything in an hour. Hopefully I've not been salivating all over the place. That was a weird sentence. Ignore I said that. Just, you know what? Just call it, okay? Thank you all for being here. I'm so happy that people are showing up for these, and I hope this was interesting to some extent, even though I think this one is a lot more all over the place than the other one will be. I think the next one will be more interesting. I think there's more things to comment on what worked or what didn't. Will you make a Discord ever? The answer is probably yes, just not quite yet. I'm just taking things a step at a time. But will I ever? Yeah, I think I will. Don't you worry about it. To some extent, I don't know. But yeah, thank you all for being here. I'm so happy you're all here. I don't know. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Victini. Thank you, Brighton. Thank you, Rex. Thank you, Abstacked. Thank you, Cube, for all your testing. Thank you, Minotaur. And there were other people here as well earlier. Let me see. Who have I missed? I hope I've not missed other people. See, there's few enough people in the chat that I have to actually be aware to not offend anyone. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. This is the start of something. And yeah, it's great to actually talk about this. Great to actually talk about these things rather than have them sit in my head for 3 years. Yeah, I can finally let go of some of the things. On the whole, conclusion, I think this video still holds up, actually. I still really like this video. If it had better audio quality from my voice, I think it would have done quite well, actually. Not to say it didn't do well. Like, I'm not trying to say that. I'm being awkward. But yeah, I am actually really happy with how this video came out, and I'm still happy with it. And unironically, I would go and watch it, like, occasionally, just to make myself laugh. Which I hope is not too self-obsessive, that I'm watching my own videos occasionally. But, hey, It is. Make sure to drop the video a like and the stream even if there, and make sure to subscribe. We're just over the 1,000 mark. Thank you so much. I'll stop rambling. I won't drop my controller. Don't you worry. Thank you all for being here. Where is my end stream button? There it is. Here we go. Thank you so much, and goodbye.